All right. Welcome back, finally, to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour. We are picking up where we left off, and I need to figure out where that was. I think we were just past Resolution Island. We had made it across Ungava Bay. We went past the Torngat Mountains National Park in Labrador and Labrador and blanking. And the other one. Newfoundland and Labrador, right? I think so. Yeah, Newfoundland and Labrador. And we are now flying up towards the Arctic Circle. And we're going to cut over to Greenland and fly across Greenland as we make our way to Iceland and then on to the UK. But that's a long way in the distance. Today, as I'm recording this, is Saturday, June 18th. It's 12:40 p.m. We have a bunch of podcasts from this past week that I haven't listened to yet. I kind of fell behind. Went to the U.S. Open Golf Tournament yesterday, just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, in Brookline. And this whole week I've been kind of busy, so I've fallen behind in some of the podcasts. So we're going to start with the Monday, June 13th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show. And we've also got a Wednesday show and a Friday show. So we'll try to get through those and see where we are at that point. That might be the end of the flight by that time. But we are continuing to head north. We're already in the air, as you can see. We kind of just landed on the ice in between some islands last time, so we were already in the air, continuing our way north, eventually to Greenland. Here we go with the Monday, June 13th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Previously on the Tony Kornheiser Show.
For those of you who think, I'm pretty good with the horses, I can make some money with the horses. Let's say your name is Bill Schaefer or Johnny Richardson. Do you have speed figures named after you? Because we got Andy Dyer, who has the Dyer speed figures.
Yeah.
That's his credential. Eat it, okay? Let's understand something.
The Tony Kornheiser Show is on now.
Unfortunately, Andy got it wrong. He had the speed horse, the number one horse. It didn't win. It led for much of the race, but it did not win. We will talk to Chuck Culpepper later about the Belmont race. To me, the significant story in the Belmont race is not who won. It's that Rich Strike lost.
Yeah.
And you wonder, and I'll ask Chuck this, in the greater sort of view of Rich Strike, is it better that he won or that he lost? Because if he lost, he's the greatest Derby winner of all time. He probably never wins another race. And if he won, you go, whoa, 200 years of science with horses just went out the window. So we'll talk to him about that. Andy did not get that one right. Michael is here today, I'm happy to say. Nigel is here today, I'm happy to say. I'm not going to dwell on the Nats. There's no point. The Nats won a series. They beat Milwaukee 2 out of 3. They lost yesterday. They got a good pitching performance, actually, from Paolo Espinosa. It was always good. They just didn't win, and they didn't hit. But they hit the first 2 games. That's not what I want to talk about. I also watched the Tony Awards. I'm going to be very brief about the Tony Awards. I watched for about an hour, and I love the Tony Awards, and I got to watch some big musical numbers. The guy who plays Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He dances and looks just like Michael. Did you see
He's local, right?
I don't know. I don't know anything about him. I mean, he was great.
The tough thing with that performance is, if you remember the Smooth Criminal video, it's so theatrical, and you just watch it live and it still feels hollow compared to what that was. And I was just waiting for the cue ball to come out so he could squeeze it.
I understand all of that, but I thought it was remarkable how good he was. Just great.
Did you see Billy Crystal?
I was going to get to that now. My friend Billy Crystal went out there, and I thought he did very well. I thought he won the audience in an impossible thing to do, which is to do scat singing in Yiddish.
Say oi.
He was very fortunate. He got Samuel L. Jackson involved in it, and Samuel L. Jackson was great and played along tremendously. What I thought about, Billy is my age. That's very physical, what he did.
running around.
Very physical, and I wonder how many performances do you have in you as Mr. Saturday Night?
Part of that is from the show that he does, right?
Yes, that's the big
performance.
number on Mr. I assume on Mr.
I was going to
Saturday
say, it's
Night.
the type of thing that on paper you're like, trust me, just go with it. Krista wants to do it, it'll work. But that's different than having the split of the insiders up front, the TV. It worked on TV as well as in the audience.
It did. It worked really good. So I was happy for that. And then I just stopped because I don't know any of the shows, and I honestly got tired of people praising the Broadway community. I mean, they didn't discover a cure for monkeypox.
Talking about the understudy and the show must go on while you let the people in the orchestra take their masks off.
I love theater. Love to go see theater. I've seen more plays than most. Love it. But I don't want to make it into, alerting Boston that the British are coming. I mean,
So yesterday in the afternoon on PBS, they were doing the 25th anniversary concert of Les Mis, and I can see both boys slowly creeping towards, late Act 1 number with Jean Valjean.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you guys remember this? I used to sing this to you in the bathtub, and I started to think, man, it's been years since I've seen a live show.
It's and I understand that, and I hope we get to the point where everybody's comfortable seeing live shows, and I love the Tony Awards. Love the Tony Awards. I got to see Patti LuPone. Patti LuPone's been winning Tonys for 40 years, and she won another one. That was very nice. Anyway, that's not what I really wanted to start with. I wanted to start with the golf. I wanted to start with the Canadian Open. And the greatest thing that happened to the PGA Tour is that Rory McIlroy, who is the champion of the PGA Tour, won that tournament. And I don't want to say he tried to give it away, but I will say this. He missed in the last, until 17, I think, in the last 4 holes, 13, 14, 15, 16, I think he missed 2 putts within 5 feet.
That's always been his Achilles heel, but you saw that the putting stats sometimes are different than what the eye test tells you, which is, I think it was that 15th hole, he tried to push an 8-iron on a pretty long par 3, and he just left himself with a very tough first putt, which set up the second miss.
He also hit short irons from the fairway better than anybody of all time. He was on the back 9, and in fact the whole day, he probably had 7 holes where he was within 5 feet.
Yeah.
He was unbelievably good, and ultimately Justin Thomas and Tony Finau stepped back, did not put particular pressure on him, and Rory won. Now, why do I say that's important? Because Rory McIlroy, as I just said, is the face now of the PGA Tour, even though he's not American-born and bred. He's from Northern Ireland. He has been out there up front saying the PGA Tour is great. He has not been critical specifically of the Saudi Tour, but he has said if you make decisions solely for money, they bite you in the end. And that is not even a veiled shot at Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson. It's not veiled at all.
He became a little bit more critical yesterday after he won towards the shark.
Well, yes. I wanted to say this. There's a wire service story in the Post today, and I just breezed through it. Greg Norman has said critically of Rory McIlroy that he's been brainwashed. In other words, he's saying, Rory, you're not smart enough to make your own decision. These people have brainwashed you into being their little toady. So that's a real shot from Greg Norman at Rory McIlroy. And Rory McIlroy's victory yesterday was the 21st of his career. He's still a very young man in his early 30s, the 21st of his career. And this is his quote. This is a day I'll remember for a long, long time. 21 PGA Tour wins, one more than somebody else. Greg Norman had 20. That's a direct shot at Greg Norman. A direct shot. The word impressed is not the right word I want to use. What was memorable for me in the telecast was Jim Nantz interviewing Jay Monahan. Jay Monahan is the chairman, is that his name, of the PGA Tour, the chairman? Not the commissioner? Is he the commissioner?
Oh, commissioner. Yeah.
Okay, he's the commissioner. He's the guy who makes all the decisions in terms of what the punishments will be and what the strategy will be to compete with the Saudi Golf Tour. Him. I think he's howling in the wind, but that's just me. Jim Nantz asked him 3 or 4 or 5 questions, all of which were the right questions and all of which were the predictable questions. Anybody who was prepping Jay Monahan could say, Jay, here's what the questions are going to be. They were asked without any edge whatsoever, without any particular follow-up whatsoever, without any meanness whatsoever. Why? Because Jim Nantz is the PGA Tour.
CBS, huge partner of the tour. Let
Yeah.
me toss you a meatball,
Yeah.
Commissioner.
Yeah. So the questions were the right questions. Were they superficial to a degree? But that's okay.
Right.
They were the right questions. And the first time, Jim Nance asked some question about sort of why are you taking this position against the Saudi tour? And Jay Monahan says, well, let me answer your question with a question. No. Don't be too cool for school. When you answer a question with a question, people just say, what are you talking about? Are you not prepped for this? Did your people not tell you what anyone could have told you? These are the 5 questions Jim Nance is going to ask. Jim Nance could have given you a sheet of paper with these questions on them. Anybody would have asked these. Jim Nance did the right thing. This is not criticism of Jim Nance at all. Not at all.
Yeah, the flip side
But Jim Nance is a partner in the PGA Tour. CBS is a partner.
Yeah. I think Monahan already had the answers on a printout that had already been released to all the news wires, and his question of the question was to just get to the idea of the casual golf fan going, I watched some of their golf over the weekend and then on Saturday. Now I'm happy to watch your product as you have one of the best players in the world sort of dueling it out as you go into the back nine, and you have Justin Rose on 59 watch. Like, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Why'd you have to squeeze these guys out of this tour when you've previously let these guys play on other worldwide events
All
around?
fair questions. Jay Monahan called, his biggest criticism was the free ride of the Saudi tour. And what he means by that is that everybody gets paid. It is in effect a guarantee because the floor is guaranteed, where that is not necessarily true if you miss the cut in a PGA tour.
Andy Ogletree didn't break 75, made $120,000.
And that can happen. So Monahan says this: it's been an unfortunate week that was created by some unfortunate decisions, those decisions being players choosing to violate our tournament regulations. Those players have chosen to sign multi-year lucrative contracts to play in a series of exhibition matches against the same players over and over again. You look at that versus what we see here today, and that's why they need us so badly. You've got true, pure competition, the best players in the world here at the RBC Canadian Open, with millions of fans watching. And in this game, it's true and pure competition that creates the profile and the presence of the world's greatest players. Unquote. It's a lovely quote. It has very little truth to it. The PGA Tour wants the same players every single week. That's why they put in a clause that says you got to play X amount of tournaments. The PGA Tour isn't stupid. They want Rory McIlroy and John Rahm and Justin Turner and Phil Mickelson, if they can get them, and Dustin Johnson every single week.
If you could have limited field WGC
They
events
do it.
with guaranteed money,
They would do it. They would do it. The notion that somehow the Saudi Tour is not real competition is stupid. Of course it's stupid. The winner gets more money. You don't think they want to win? I mean, I'm going to turn to Michael now because he knows more about this. But true, pure competition, they both have that. The thing is going to rise or fall ultimately on an American audience on television and an American audience at the track. Are enough people going to want to watch this that the PGA Tour can't dictate terms anymore?
Yeah, and so if you look at the timing of this, the first one in London still felt a world away, and primarily that was because of the time zone.
Coming to America.
And so as soon as they come to Portland, and all of a sudden they have the opportunity to be on prime time, and you start to see, does that idea of the shotgun start when a lot of eyeballs can watch, is that going to be something that changes everything? So
Jay Monahan did himself no favor.
I don't know why. So I understand why he had to do the interview. I don't understand why CBS had to allow or had to encourage Nance and Fowler to be so critical on Saturday into
Yes,
Sunday.
I did not see that. You did.
Just because I thought the visuals they did. So like yesterday, the trailing shots of the crowd following Rory. To me, that's the power of the image of what the PGA Tour is offering right now, which is the built-in fan base. You have the relationships. You have this tournament that is a national championship that's part of this tour. That was beautiful. You have to let the golf talk for itself. You have one of the best winners you could possibly have of any event worldwide in Rory McIlroy. And there's like this sadness to it as he's still using his European Ryder Cup putter grip. And you think, what's going to happen with all his boys going forward? So I would have let the product speak for itself if you're trying to think about what the strength of the tour is. And you talk about why do they need us, and you want to go, you just took a handful of those players and gave them millions of dollars last year in a made-up player impact program, which showed that you, in fact, need them as well.
Yeah, that's all you have to say is we need the players too. And it It wasn't that what he said wasn't honest. I'm not saying it wasn't honest. It wasn't thorough. It wasn't complete. It was preposterously aggressive. Preposterously aggressive. Let me answer your question with another question. What's with them? And basically what he said was, we got the best thing here, and if you don't want it, die. Right? I mean, it was just very, very standoffish.
Now I will say I have a lot of fatigue from this. I think it's just going to get worse and worse once this comes to the States in 2 weeks, I think it is. But once you, the last week when you've seen Phil with his, I guess I call it his quarantine beard, his villainous turn.
Sally Jenkins wrote a great...
Please read it.
Great column.
But even Rory, what if this has woken up Rory, who's sort of been in a bit of a lull, and a lot of that was because
and he wants to go win.
Yeah, a lot of that's been because of his, COVID, growing his family, other pressures on his life. But
if you're the U.S. Open, you cannot ask anything more than not the U.S. Open now, not PGA Tour.
Right.
You can ask nothing more than a Sunday, Father's Day, go for the win, last group of Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy. That's the dream. I mean, you could say Phil, but we don't really think that Phil is.
Well, you don't think Pat Perez, like just rounding out the three ball?
I don't think Pat Perez. Wilbon's boy. I don't think so. Speaking of Wilbon, he's next. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Sunday read. You'll never dread doing lawn work again once you team up with Sunday. Their lawn care products are quick and easy, and you won't even have to go to the store because everything is delivered right to your door. Everyone wants a beautiful lawn without those harsh chemicals. That's why this year you should use Sunday. It's made with ingredients you can actually pronounce, like seaweed, iron, and molasses, and the best part, it works. I'm sure you can pronounce the bad stuff too, but if you say it's got molasses, it makes everybody feel good.
That's yummy.
Your yard is your personal oasis. It deserves the best. Sunday helps you grow a beautiful lawn, control pests, and fight weeds without the toxic stuff. Sunday's custom lawn care is effective and super easy. Just go to getsunday.com. Put in your address, and their lawn analysis tool does the rest. They use soil and climate data to create a personal nutrient plan delivered to your door right when you need it. Michael, describe how it works.
So this comes in a pouch that attaches to your hose, and there's a little nozzle that you can rotate open or closed. And so the boys, it's like straight out of the Von Trapp family. We line up by size. I'm the leader, and then we wrap the hose around our shoulders, and we go to town.
That's great.
Lawn strong. We're getting ready for our next application.
Sunday is offering listeners to this high-quality podcast 20% off. Full season plans start at just $129. You can get 20% off that when you visit getsunday.com/Tony at checkout. That's 20% off your custom plan at getsunday.com/Tony. Use the code.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This comes to us from Thomas Crawford from Rochester, New York, and his band is called Max and the Mammoth. This is called Small Town Love. Once again, we are thrilled at the amount of great music that we get.
Just astonishing.
Yeah. I don't know that I would have named a band Max and the Mammoth. Max and the Woolly Mammoth, or the Woolly Mammoths.
Well, I saw the album cover.
Is it nice?
It looks like a kid's book. It was very charming. I said, oh, yeah.
So Bootsy and the Hammer might like it?
They would certainly love yes, I think they would.
So we're going to play him twice, I'm sorry, not him. He sent it, we'll play them twice today. I advertised Michael Wilbon. We don't have Michael Wilbon. Unless something happens, Deus Ex Machina, we don't have Michael
I'm
Wilbon.
beginning to think your relationship is strained.
No, I mean, he said he's in California. Let me try to describe what his life has been like over the last few weeks, covering these playoffs. I mean, he's running all around the country. Now, he likes running all around the country, but he's running all around the country.
He has to get back for Gonzaga Summer Ball, right?
Yeah.
By the way, this is the cover.
Max and the Mammoth. Yeah, it does look like the Woolly Mammoth.
Yeah. There you go.
So Wilbon is in San Francisco. He was in Boston. He went out to San Francisco. There's a game tonight. Game 5 is tonight. And then he's going to have to come back because there has to be a Game 6.
Yes.
And this is, it's stressful at any age, but you do reach an age where the travel, you just fall asleep. And we're asking him to get up 3 hours early. And he says, I'll do it. But I shouldn't even ask. But he doesn't. He says to me, I'll do this. And I said, are you sure you want to? But I don't know.
Yeah, those are the conversations. It's like, listen, why don't we do this later? And he says, no, I'm there. And
yeah. So anyway, what we will do is we will, in this particular case, I will do the segment that Wilbon would have done. I mean, I will not be able to answer the questions in the way that Wilbon answered them, but we will spend a little bit of time on the NBA playoffs. The series was tied in Boston in Game 4 when Steph Curry, I think, shot 14 for 26.
Yeah.
That's awfully good. He's not taking layups. He takes some layups, but it's, he mostly takes long shots. 14 for 26, and he had 40 points or more than 40 points.
Like
and
43, yes.
yeah, and he became like one of the 3 people of all time in a finals to have 40 points and 10 rebounds. It's like hardly anybody who did it, and the people who did it are all in the Hall of Fame. And where Steph Curry is going to be. Klay Thompson was okay. Draymond Green facilitated, but doesn't score anymore. Scores 2 points a game. He has more fouls than points. You just look around, you wonder. Boston, why did Boston lose? Because Boston doesn't win 2 in a row.
That's exactly
Or
right.
lose 2 in a row. They don't. When they win 2 in a row, they win the series. If you go back and check, you will see, certainly against Brooklyn, they won 4 in a row. But then against Milwaukee, they won 6 and 7. And against Miami, they won 4 and 5 and then won 7. If they put together 2 games that they win in a row, they win the series. My feeling about Boston is they've had a harder road to go than Golden State in getting to this point. I think they're a better team than Golden State, but I'm sort of rooting for Golden State. And you'll say, well, Golden State has the advantage again because they've got home court. They lost home court in the first game. What makes you think they won't lose it again tonight? What do I think? I think that the winner of Game 5 is going to win the series. But do you not think, honestly, if Golden State loses Game 5, do you not think they can win 2 in a row? Do you not think that team with Steph Curry can win 2? Because of course they can.
Yes, of course they can.
Steph Curry's the best player on the court. He's the best player on the court. Jason Tatum's a very good player. Steph Curry's the best player on the court. And by the way, there's nobody on Boston that can do what Klay Thompson can do if he gets hot. Nobody on Boston's ever scored 37 points in an NBA quarter. He has. Nobody's done that. He has done that.
Yeah.
So, and I want Golden State to win because I like Steve Kerr and I like Draymond Green and I like Klay Thompson and I like Steph Curry. And I think they're good for basketball. I think people like to watch them play. And I want to see them win because then Kevin Durant's contribution to their run doesn't have to be maximized because they would have won on the front end without Kevin Durant and on the back end without Kevin Durant. And someday Kevin Durant will tell us why he thought teaming up with Kyrie Irving was better than teaming up with Steph Curry. Because that's the question everybody has. What are you doing? Why would you do that? I am disappointed that not a single game has been close late. It's disappointing. Every single game, 10 or more.
Yeah.
Every single game, somebody's dribbling out the clock. And if you ask your friends, if you have casual conversations and you ask, did you stay with it? And they go, well, with about 5 or 6 minutes to go, I just sort of left. Nobody's staying with it to the end. You're a Boston fan.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
It's hard to disagree with anything you said there. I mean, Steph Curry is such a brilliant player. And
Doesn't mean they'll win.
doesn't mean they'll win.
The other team's better.
Yeah, I think, and it's a great point that the Celtics had such a difficult path to get there.
Yes,
I think
they did.
they've really been tested.
Yep. Battle-tested team.
But they don't handle prosperity well. I mean, they win a game and they just, and you thought that, at the beginning of the game, you thought, oh, wow, they could really build up a big lead. And they didn't do that. And it's sort of at that point you said, this thing is not going to go the way you hope. And at the end of the game, they did all the things that they do when they're losing. They sit around, they spot up for threes, they take bad shots. You had Marcus Smart taking a bunch of ill-advised shot late, and it was a real squandered opportunity.
They're still in it.
It's very much so, yeah.
It's 2-2, and they're going to a place where they've won.
And they don't seem to be intimidated by playing on the road and winning on the road.
They're better.
Yeah.
They're actually better on the road. Michael, are you paying attention to
And
it?
they don't lose again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't lose 2 in a row. You paying attention?
Not really.
Yeah. Did you pay attention to the hockey?
Still, that's a no for me.
Okay.
So I wasn't watching with a close eye, but boy, there's a few things with the Rangers. I mean, they're just losing.
So
late.
Tampa Bay.
It's tough.
Tampa Bay went down 0-2. They lost the first 2 games on the road. Now, no series starts until the home team loses,
Yeah.
really. in any sport. They went down 0-2. They then won 4 in a row. The critical moment was the 42 seconds to go in Game 3, or else they're going to overtime, and if they lose, Tampa Bay, if they lose, they're out. They then won 4 in a row. They won 3 games very close, and 1 game, Game 4, very easily, 4-1. They're the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion, and this needs to be said. In hockey, if you win 1 Stanley Cup, it's great. You're happy for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. Hockey players, 1 is fine for them. If you win 2, it's even greater. If you win 3 in a row, you're a dynasty. There aren't that many. You know, there's the Canadiens in the 50s and 60s. There's the Islanders. Yep. They won 3 or 4 in a row. There's the Oilers, won 3 or 4 in a row. I don't know that Detroit or Pittsburgh won 3 or 4 in a row.
You'd have to check on that.
I don't know that they did. You win 3 in a row.
What was Chicago's run like a decade ago?
They had 3 in about 5 or 6 years or 7 years. That doesn't mean they're not great, but 3 in a row is exceedingly rare in hockey. And Tampa Bay, and I don't know much about hockey, Tampa Bay could achieve that. Now, the other part of that is Tampa Bay did not have a real great regular season. Colorado did. Colorado's really good. I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C., not thinking about the Colorado Avalanche, not knowing anything about them other than they have Nathan McKinnon, right? He's the only guy I know. But I got to feel they're pretty good because they just won the Western Conference Finals in a sweep. Yeah. So I would think they would actually be the favorites. That doesn't mean Tampa Bay won't win, but Tampa Bay, I think, finished 4th or 5th in the regular season in conference. They haven't had home ice in any of these things.
Yeah, but they probably look at it as like, this is where...
Yeah, it's our time.
This is our time.
We're ready
it's
to
the finals. Go. Yeah. By the way, the Red Wings did not win 3 in a row in the 90s.
I don't think Pittsburgh did.
The Red Wings did win 3 in a row. Oh, not 3 in a row. I'm sorry. They won several in the 50s, but never 3 in a row. So,
well,
yeah.
And Pittsburgh did not win 3 in a row. They won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
But 3 is, in hockey, that's really rare air. That makes you a dynasty. It puts you on the most elite level you can be on. This is the week segment today. I did the best I could, and I'll get out of here and shut up.
Can I ask you the one thing? Did you see what happened at the end of the Rangers? It wasn't the final game. The game before that, the Rangers Lightning game.
The open net goal?
No, with one of the fans.
Oh, I did see that. I've seen it on 1,000 people have sent me this thing and say you have to watch it. That a guy in a Rangers shirt punched out a guy in the head and a guy in a Tampa Bay shirt.
I mean, knocks him out cold.
Right, he's been arrested, though.
Banned from the stadium for life. And apparently, as he was talking to the police...
But arrested, could go to jail.
He could go to jail, I think, for assault.
Direct assault. Direct assault.
When you watch it,
there's no question it's assault.
He just turns around with a left hook, it looks like. Pretty good. Gets him. But apparently, as he's talking to the police, that's when he started to realize, like, oh, no, wait a minute, this could be on the internet, couldn't it? It's like, yes. We're all going to know what you just did, man.
Yeah, they arrested him.
They did, deservedly so.
Yeah. All right.
Terrible.
We'll take a break. Chuck Culpepper will join us when we return. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the X Chair read. Many of us spend more time every day in our office chair than in our cars or in our beds, and that's why it's so important to invest in the right chair so you'll spend those hours with the right level of support and comfort to get the most productivity out of your day. X Chair will make the time you spend at your desk not only more productive, but it will become your favorite place to sit for any reason. Not only does X Chair's patented dynamic variable lumbar, the old DVL, offer the ultimate customized support, but X Chair can even give you a massage. Plus, it can heat up or cool down depending on what you need. And now, thanks to X Chair's new FS 360 armrests, you can even adjust your armrest to the perfect position. All these unique X Chairs will help the hours at your desk fly by in complete comfort. You'll love it. Go to xchairtony.com now. That's the letter X, chair, TONY.com, or call 1-844-4XChair for $100 off your order. X-Chair has a 30-day guarantee of complete comfort, and you can finance your purchase for as little as $30 a month. xchairtony.com. Use the code.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
Once again, these are Max and the Mammoth. Played them twice today. This is called Summer Days, sent to us by Thomas Crawford. He's the leader of the band. He's from Rochester, New York. Love Rochester, New York. He's the hometown of Mark and Marty Toohey, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes. And my friend Tony Keller, who is Marty Toohey's brother, Rochester, New York. Summer days. Michael, if people like Max and the Mammoth want to send us their original music, how do they do it?
Send us your music by emailing it to jingles@TonyKornizershow.com.
Are we selling anything?
Yeah, we still have the Father's Day cut up for Johnny O, TK Bootsy 5. Go get some matching shirts.
Yeah. So Chuck Culpepper joins us now, and I said earlier yesterday to Nigel, let's get Chuck to cover the Belmont, because he went to the Belmont, and then Nigel told me he was going to be in Boston, in Brookline, for the Phil Mickelson press conference. I said, that's great, we can do two different stories. Then I looked in the paper, and Chuck didn't cover the Belmont. Didn't cover the Belmont. I thought for sure you were covering the Belmont. What happened?
Oh, they asked me not to cover the Belmont, so I just sort of monitored it and watched it, and that was it. So it was, with no Triple Crown in the offing
Right.
and all, and just the fact that there are also only 3 horses from the Derby were in the Belmont, and none of those had been in the Preakness. So it was a strange campaign, but one that kind of blared that reality of that horses just don't race as frequently as they used to, and everybody, there have been a whole rash of reasons given for that, why that could be. But if you look, it was the first Triple Crown campaign since 1954 where the Derby winner didn't run the Preakness and the Preakness winner didn't run the Belmont. And so those were crazy circumstances back then. Horses ran. The horse who won the Derby that year, Determined, had been like almost an American football team in his schedule. He had run, week after week after week up to that. He even ran 5 days before the Derby at Churchill Downs. So this particular Triple Crown campaign for me was sort of the utmost example of how trainers just rest their horses a lot more than they used to, and they think they run better.
Yeah, we had Andy Dyer on, and Andy is an advocate now of changing the Triple Crown schedule that has been in existence for, 7,000 years, that it's race 2 weeks, race 3 weeks, and he thinks that's going to change, and I understand that. You had written a walk-up story, though, about Rich Strike, and this is what I want to ask. I was rooting for Rich Strike, because to me, if you win the Derby and the Belmont, and everybody thinks you're a mutt before you get into the Derby, that's one of the greatest stories of all time. But it's also possible that one of the greatest stories of all time is if Rich Strike never wins another race, and the only race he's ever won is the Kentucky Derby. What side of the fence are you on with that?
I would say I'm on the other side of the fence, the one is so enchanting that's the one that's going to last longer. So I would say the latter of your two scenarios, because I think if he had won the Derby and Belmont without running the Preakness, that's a distinction, and that means he's growing and he's getting better and he's a little better than all of us thought. But winning just the Derby since last September when he won his only other race, and winning just the Derby kind of makes the thing even more enchanting about what can happen just on one day. That's one of our all-time, that would have to be in sports, one of the all-time, on any given day type story. So I would go with that latter one because it's so nutty.
I tend to agree with that. I thought Rich Strike was the story of the Belmont. Win or lose, if I'm writing a column, if it's me, I'm writing about Rich Strike, win or lose. But you indicated that there's a very interesting story about the winner, Mo Donegal, and is it the trainer or the owner? Because the trainer's won 100 times. Yeah.
Right. And the owner, Mike, one of the owners, Mike Reepole, from everybody at the track knows him as Mike from Queens. I just thought it was really striking that he, at the end, he told NBC, he said, this is the culmination of a 40-year dream. And here we are, here a lot of the rest of us thinking, okay, this Belmont is an anticlimax.
Yeah.
It's tepid. It's got no buzz to it, whatever. And then when you realize, there's people who sort of throw their lives into this dream, and this is what they dream about. And it sort of sort of recalibrated the whole thing for me in that moment.
Mike from Queens. It sounds like what Chris Russo would say. Let's go to Mike from Queens. You know, with the mad dog.
Yeah.
So the news today, the other news for us, and we were just talking about this before your segment, how the PGA Tour could not have asked for anything greater in their lives than Rory McIlroy winning yesterday because he is the champion of the tour. But you're going to talk to Phil in Brookline, Phil Mickelson. I sure hope you read Sally's column. Boy, that was great. Just so great the other day. You're going to talk to Phil Mickelson, and what do you expect to hear from him? This is going to be his first one in America, right? First big
Right.
one. Yeah.
Right, and I think we're at this next phase now where he's already appeared. He's already told the two writers who followed him on Saturday, "No, I'm not going to talk to you today. I'll see you in Boston." And I think now we're going to get to this phase where this thing has become a little bit more accepted already, I guess, and with more players in it. And I'm expecting him to make some apologies, I would say, but be maybe a little more sort of firm in his way, in his manner about this thing, I think.
So this
It's
is
going to be a nutty day.
Yeah, this isn't under the auspices of the Saudi tour. No
Right.
question is going to get you thrown out. Like if you want to say, as I heard, there was some question, well, would you play an event sponsored by Putin? And I think that Chipnock was, his whole deal was, I'm getting dressed up here to get tossed, and I think that happened. We're not going to see that, right? I mean,
Right, we're not seeing anything like that today. Right.
do you agree with me that Chipnock just wanted to get tossed to sell books?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I could see it. I could see it in the manner of just Shipnuck saying, I really ought to show up. It would be lame of me not to show up.
You think anyone will ask Phil about his overt shot at the PGA Tour by wearing a Masters vest in his first tournament?
Yes, I think someone will ask about that. And there's such a range of things you could ask that this is going to be that rare press conference where, there'll be not even a moment of snoozing involved.
I agree. And by the way, Phil can talk. And Phil is going to prep for this, and he knows the questions, just like Jay Monahan knew the questions yesterday and failed. Phil, I don't think is going to fail. If you had one question, and they said, okay, Mr. Culpepper, your question, what is it?
I would ask him if he and Amy, his wife, know any people who would be affected by the kinds of human rights standards the Saudi government has, and whether they've had any conversations with them and what those conversations have gone like. That would be the way I would think about it. Just something that brings it into a human focus and something that that sort of brings it down to a human level and sort of what that's like for him to now collaborate with this.
This is an interesting thing to me. Phil can be charming. Phil was at a point in his career at 51 or 52 years old, of course, where he wasn't going to win regularly on the PGA Tour, if at all. And there's no real money in the senior tour. So Phil had to find something else to do. But I don't think he can charm his way out of today. Do you? I mean, I'm not sure he can. This is American soil. This is PGA territory, whether or not the USGA has anything to do with the PGA. I think this is going to be tough. I do, for him, and I hope he's prepared.
I agree, and I think it's going to be tough in a way that is going to sit with him after he leaves the room too.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think he likes to be liked. Most of us do, but I think he likes to be liked, and I think that strain of it is going to be rough on him. After he'll think about it beyond this particular hour or however long it lasts.
I was saying to my son off air, I think this was off air just now, that if I was the USGA and running the US Open, I'd want nothing more than the last group on Father's Day to be Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson. That would be me. I'd want that. What do you think the USGA wants? Do you think they want one of the Saudi Tour guys in the final?
I would think they would not.
Okay.
That would be my initial guess. I would think they would kind of want them to be out of the way, where that wasn't what they have this bonanza, this attention, this thing. But I would think that by the end they would like for it to be, something where it's maybe more aligned with what you would normally see. I would think they would want all of that noise out of the way and have the golf sort of. Is there any way for that to be achieved at this point? That we could actually next Monday be talking about the golf. I don't know, but it seems maybe unrealistic. But I would think that's what they would want, to have some chatter about a great golf event.
Do you think they'll give Phil good tee times, like early the first day, late the second day? Do you think they'll give him that, or do you think they're mad at Phil? I mean, maybe Dustin Johnson matters as well, but nobody matters as much as Phil other than Tiger. Nobody matters as much. Will they be mad at him?
I couldn't see them taking it out on him in that way. I think they're too. I think the people who run majors are just, it doesn't seem to me to factor into their equation that they, or to help them in any way that they would, exact some sort of revenge for, and of course Phil has come so close to winning the U.S. Open 6 times at least, and probably more if we went back and counted it up, and in various ways, and so it's really something that he's here, and that he's going to be the first one to speak this week, and that I think it's rare to have a Monday press conference at 1:00. That was kind of telling me he wanted to get out of the way, and that this is sort of the aching story of Phil's career, missing part, the missing giant part, the one that he's had a shot at so many times, so close, and you'd have to think he's reaching the age where the chances are, if they haven't run out already, they're just about to. So to throw that in this mix too it's too much.
Do you think, Chuck, that they will pair the Saudi guys together, or do you think that they will split them up and have pairings that would include both PGA Tour guys and Saudi guys?
I'm going to guess split them up, but I know that everyone will be looking for that. That's the set of tee times to come out, which is going to be, you get those little widened eyes in the room when you see certain groups sometimes. But this will be, I don't know, is this maybe the most interesting tee time revelation ever? I hadn't thought about it that way. Maybe it is. Yeah, but I'm going to guess all strewn around.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it is. I mean, I think that people are going to see what is the USGA going to do with this whole thing. Anyway, the head pro there is Brendan Walsh, right? And that's Courtney Fleming's cousin. So if you see the head pro there, say hello from Courtney Fleming, who plays at Columbia with me. So that's very nice. Thanks for being on. Thank you, Chuck. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you.
Chuck Culpepper. That's right in the middle of the action. Phil Mickelson. I mean, I can't guarantee you much, but I can guarantee you the PTI show today will have a Phil Mickelson story. I'm sure that's going to happen. We'll take a break. We'll come back with email and jingle. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Shopify ad, and I have trouble with the Shopify ad. I'm not...
We're happy Michael's here today for this.
Thankfully, Michael is here. Shopify is more than a store. Connect with your customers, drive sales, manage your day-to-day. Got that. Shopify instantly lets you accept all major payment methods. Got that. Shopify has thousands of integrations and third-party apps, from on-demand printing to accounting to advanced chatbots and beyond. Don't quite have that. Supercharge your knowledge, your sales, and your success. Discover endless possibility. Shopify is tirelessly reinventing tools of growth for over 1.7 million businesses, helping them succeed every day. Michael, can you explain Shopify?
Why don't we just go to the website, type into the chat box, what exactly would you say you do here?
Chat box. I don't know. Discover your possible. Shopify unlocks the opportunity of your business to more people every day. Every 28 seconds, an entrepreneur like you makes their first sale on Shopify. So go to shopify.com/Tony K. Do this all in lowercase, please. Shopify.com/Tony K for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business today. Go to shopify.com/Tony K. That's one more time, Shopify. SHOPIFY, Shopify, just like it sounds. Shopify.com/Tony K.
You're listening to The Tony Kornheiser Show.
What an honor that is. It's just such an honor. You want to do the Bethesda Bagel ad?
Yes, thank you. We've got the bagel sandwiches today. Very excited about that. All you need to do is go to BethesdaBagels.com, forward a location in the DC area nearest you, then pop on in, and you'll be thrilled.
That's it for us today. Before we get to the mailbag, let me just say, hot town, summer in the city. Back of my neck getting dirt and gritty. Been down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city. All around, people looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk hotter than a match head. Those, of course, are the Lovin' Spoonful. I'm going to try this. Joe Butler, Zal Yanofsky, John Sebastian, and either Steve or Randy Boone. I'm not sure of his first name. I think that was the original group. These were in the mid to late 60s, one of the great harmonizing vocal groups of all time. First sort of long-haired band in the United States of America, the Lovin' Spoonful. Do I have that right? Do I have the names right?
I believe you do. Sorry, they don't list it in order the way they should. But I think you did get it right.
Yeah. Thanks to our guests today, Chuck Culpepper. Thanks to today's sponsors, Sunday, X-Chair, Shopify. Remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Odyssey. If you get the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. As a public service, Dina in Damascus writes, in case you haven't heard, there will be a Jingle Fest Saturday, June 25th. That is in a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Saturday, June 25th at 7 p.m. at the Holiday Inn in Springfield, Virginia. I want to let everyone know that piano keys signed by Mr. Tony Beeson himself will be sold at Jingle Fest with all proceeds going to Rocco's Warriors. This piano was played by Mr. Beeson himself before it was dismantled. There are only 88 keys on a piano, right? Are there 88?
I'll go count.
You know, I think there are 88 keys. I think.
That's correct.
Look for me, Dina in Damascus at Jingle Fest if you want a signed key. I'll be the one wearing the mask that says Dina in Damascus. Just for laughs, everybody should have a mask that said Dina from Damascus.
Yes.
I went through a lot of old emails, but not all of them are old. I always want to read them from Jolene Wojcik, who writes, life has not been easy lately. This is from February. Your conversation with Greg Garcia made me laugh and smile. All conversations with Greg Garcia make us laugh and smile.
They do.
By the way, we would all like to walk our dogs with Melissa Etheridge. Thank you.
Oh, that's right, because Greg told the story. He's out walking his dog, and he ran into Melissa Etheridge, who was walking her dog.
Yes.
Just a day in the neighborhood for Greg.
Well, then, in a subsequent phone call that I made to Al Michaels, Al said he used to live next door to Melissa Etheridge and watch her walk her dog. I guess everybody lives next door to Melissa Etheridge. From Gavin Lure in Alexandria, Virginia. This is so great. I'm not really keeping up with the Winter Olympics. Is from February. How's Window Nation doing in the medal count? That's fun. That's actually fun. In February again, from Ash in San Francisco. During dinner this past Saturday night, the woman to whom I'm related by marriage asked who I wanted to win the Super Bowl. I said Cincinnati, because as an estranged Detroit Lions fan, I can sympathize with Bengals fans. I also told her it would just mean more for the people of Cincinnati. I said, listen to this. And I played Dan Burns' Super Bowl song for her. After it finished, she said, I love Dan Byrne. I asked if she knew him from the pod. She's a loyal little too. And she said, no. I know him from when I went to his concert while in law school. You know, he's a real musician.
Yes,
and
he
looked
is.
at me like I was a rum-dum. More evidence that I got the better end of the deal when she agreed to marry me. Dan Byrne just pops up, doesn't he?
He does.
He just pops up.
Yes, like Zelig.
From the great Tony Beeson, and this was in February. Do you think that Louise Gluck would hire herself out as a therapy poet. She could recite dirges and laments to me daily until next season, because Cincinnati lost the Super Bowl. Something like, sadness descends like smog in the Inglewood Hills. Bengal dreams of victory are buried under an avalanche of twisted limbs and angry rushers. Lord, please protect our quarterback. Heaven knows our offensive line will not. From Matthew Thomas in Bowmanville, Ontario, again from February. First time, long time. Just wanted to express my sincere appreciation for all the inside information gathered from many pleasurable hours listening to the show during the pandemic. As it turns out, if you're paying enough attention, you managed to glean the secrets to winning $1,200 Canadian in your office Super Bowl pool. Couldn't have done it without Mr. Tony and his regular guests, Jason Lockenfora, Jeff Ma, James Carville, and of course the monkey. My wife, who once inadvertently dubbed TK with the moniker Corny Toeheiser in a bout of pronunciation dyslexia, sends her warm regards. She thinks perhaps we should all go in on the toaster, but I think we need more outlets, as our kitchen presently only has a modest 5. Loved listening as I shoveled the driveway for 3 straight months. Isn't that nice? From Brandon Borzelli, who we have always loved, again from February. At the end of the Super Bowl ad, set to the Sopranos music. That's Meadow Soprano is advertising an electric vehicle, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, parking. That's right.
At the end of the Super Bowl ad, set to the Sopranos music, when Meadow stops the car, if you turn up the volume, you can hear the crunch as she runs over Phil Leotardo for old time's sake. It's a brilliant email. From Roy Mathewson in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I just cannot figure out why an illegal alien who is clearly a hanger-on to a swinging monkey around town needs 3 Indochino suits.
Well,
the answer to that?
He always dresses for dinner.
And one more, also from February, from Ken Scudder. For decades, I've counted on the show for a lot of things: weather reports for places I don't live, lunch orders for people I've never met, spin rates and other golf esoteric about players I've never heard of in tournaments they don't even recognize. But this month I got something from you I never expected: domestic bliss. About 2 weeks ago, the woman related to me by marriage said that for Valentine's Day she did not want chocolate. In fact, she said, just get me gummy bears. Thanks to your pod, I knew that lowly Haribo would not do, and immediately placed an order with Albanese. Next, I bought a heart-shaped box full of chocolate-covered strawberries, ate the strawberries, and placed the gummies in the box. She was thrilled, surprised, and agrees these are the best gummies she's ever had. Anyway, her birthday's coming up. I'm open to suggestions. Her birthday was passed by, but we wanted to read that. If you're out on your bike tonight, everyone, as always, do wear white.
Go Victor always, because we saw Victor always.
All right, so that was the Monday, June 13th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show. We are now moving on to the Wednesday, June 15th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show as we continue heading northeast, trying to get to a point where we can cross over the Arctic Ocean to get to Greenland. Here is the Wednesday episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Previously on the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Jim Nance asked some question about sort of why you taking this position against the Saudi tour, and Jay Monahan says, well, let me answer your question with a question. No, don't be too cool for school. When you answer a question with a question, people just say, what are you talking about? Are you not prepped for this? Did your people not tell you what anyone could have told you? These are the 5 questions Jim Nance is going to ask. Jim Nance could have given you a sheet of paper with these questions on them.
This is General George Washington, and you're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
We'll have more of that today because Steve Sands is going to join us from the U.S. Open in Brookline, Massachusetts at the Country Club.
Golf can't start soon enough.
Yeah, thank you, Brooks Koepka. I have a specific request for Sands that I will do on the show. A couple of things to start. Remember Eli Cruikshank?
Summer of Eli.
Yes. Eli Cruikshank, what did he want from us?
He wanted to come on the show.
Right, because he's got his own podcast, but he made about 9 grammatical mistakes.
Yeah,
we chastised him for... Yes. He sent us an email. Hello, Mr. Tony. I would like to express my thanks for playing the song about my unfortunate grammar mistakes. I can't tell you how thrilled I was to have my own David Aldridge moment because there was a jingle about me. I also greatly appreciated Greg Garcia's email to help plead my case. I sent him a thank you message on Instagram, and I hope he got it from Eli Cruikshank. This is a wonderful email because he asks for nothing.
Right.
He asks for nothing. He just says, okay, I did what I did, and I faced the music, and let's go on.
Yes.
Also, here's another one. I'm with you as of now. LIV is winning. That's the Live Tour. And this will wind up in the courts with the PGA getting the short end of the stick and the lawyers making out like bandits. By the way, I have Chambliss's home run and Reggie's 3 home runs in 76 and 77 in my pocket. How's that? Regards, DG. Always good to hear from DG. Always good to hear from DG. A couple of personal things before we go on. I'm just saying hello out loud to Finn and Pineapple Landscape.
Hello, Finn.
I have things I need from Finn, but I'm saying hello out loud because I like Pineapple Landscaping, and I use it, and I recommend it to all the people who...
So Finn and Alex, Dad needs the flatbed.
Yeah.
He needs to make a move.
And to Peter Barron. Peter, I know you're listening. Just send me a note about how the reunion was. It was camp reunion over the weekend. And I just want to know how it was and who was there and stuff like that. Okay, so let's get to 2 things that are on my mind. I'll take the lesser one first. The lesser one is Brooks Koepka. He's the lesser one. He is an unbelievably annoying, smug guy to me. He's the only person in the world that can make DeChambeau look good in a one-on-one. He's got the beautiful girlfriend. He's got the commercials. Beautiful wife, model. He's got the commercials. He's got the frosted hair. He's got all of that. But I just don't think he understands how the world works on any level. I mean, I sort of feel like I should sit down with him the way Ned Beatty sat down with Peter Finch in Network to explain how things work. So, Brooks, what I want to say to you is you don't control the news. As much as you want to control the news, you don't control the news. And when you say to the assembled people at the country club in your press conference, why are you people throwing a cloud on the golf here, throwing a cloud on the Open with all these questions about the Saudi tour? Because, Brooks, that's the news.
Yeah.
When the golf starts, the golf will be the news. But until the golf starts, this is the news. For the first time ever, there is a direct and proportioned challenge to the PGA Tour. And it comes from the Saudi tour. And it is creating in golf a volcanic effect. And everybody, including you, understands this. Now, it seems to me that Brooks Koepka, whose brother is on the Saudi tour, is I don't want to say likely, but is certainly a more than possible candidate to take the money and go to the Saudi tour. Do you not agree with that, Michael?
I disagree with much of what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I would
Please.
just say Brooks Koepka, for all of his faults, is someone who basically says, I only care about majors. I think
that's
that's
right.
wrong. I mean, he's a professional golfer. He's the guy who goes, I don't really like to practice. When you see me playing golf, I'm playing golf for a championship, and he looks at how easy it is to win these majors because so much of the field, as Tom Watson would say, is already out of it by the time they arrive. So I think he might be a guy who just says, I don't need a lot of this distraction in my life. He's based in Southern Florida. He might not actually want to do the travel, but it's interesting because of the brother connection, and I think that's why he probably got to his tipping point where he said, it's the S word, I don't want to talk about this anymore. But I think he's also looking at what we were thinking of with this past week, which is we have the product, we have the players. You can ask these questions up to a point, but at a certain moment, the golf speaks for itself.
I
and
agree.
The best thing we're going to do is show them strength of competition.
And I totally agree with that, but it's like he's yelling at the media. The media isn't doing this to stop the interest in golf. The media is reacting to the news. The media is reacting to what Greg Norman and the Saudis are doing. The media is reacting to the possible fracturing of a sport that's been around for an awfully long time. And why are they asking Brooks Koepka about this? Because he's got 4 majors. He's a stud player. They're asking all the golfers, but when they get to Brooks Koepka, it's more important because he's really good. So it just, to me, it's sort of a denial of the way the world works, right? And you're shaking your head.
I'm not totally shaking my head. I'm just looking at this and go, you see what every single comment that's coming out by Rory or Justin is a not even thinly veiled criticism. It's like, at a certain point, let the golf talk.
Well, let the golf be played.
I'd be more interested. So Brooks signed a huge endorsement deal with Strixon Cleveland Golf, and part of that included using their driver and golf ball. And he just
Which he endorses.
Sure. If you go underneath the hood, take the head cover off, he's using the TaylorMade driver that he won his most recent major with the PGA. I mean, if we're looking at a past champion who still has this amazing record at these majors, I'd be interested in looking at maybe why he hasn't been playing so, because he chased the money.
Does he use a Strixon ball?
He used a Strixon ball, but now he's going back to the Titleist that he won with, and he has been granted permission by his sponsor.
Well, wait. Strixon is paying him to endorse the ball, but not making him use the ball?
He's using the irons and the wedges, and they basically said this is so early in what's going to be a long, wonderful partnership that we want to make sure he's part of the process.
Okay. One other thing I want to get to, and this is actually more important to me. That is Steven Strasburg. After we had completed the show on Monday, sufficiently after, somewhere around 4 or 5 o'clock, because I was doing the PTI show when I got a note from Matt Rennie that said, Strasburg to the IL. And I wrote back, no. It happened in the afternoon.
Yeah.
We didn't put it on the PTI show because we've been banging Strasburg around for a long time. Barry Zerluga wrote a column that I think everybody ought to read. What it does is sort of sketch out the worst case scenario for the Washington Nationals. But I know not everybody's interested in the Washington Nationals. More people are interested in Steven Strasburg than in the Washington Nationals, because Steven Strasburg was at one point the number 1 overall draft pick in baseball. And his debut in the major leagues was 14 strikeouts. And you sat back and you said to yourself, a star is born. This guy is it. And by the way, very often when he pitched, you had that feeling that he's a great, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. Well, pretty quickly into his career, he began to, I don't want to say fall apart, that's not fair. He began to have a series of injuries that kept him off the major league roster. Barry points out he's been on the DL, what it used to be called, and the IL 15 different times. 15 different times. If you don't think that's a lot, ask yourself how many times Freddie Freeman's been on. Because it ain't 15. It's a lot. And you reach the point, and I started calling him the Orchid pretty quickly, and Tom Boswell used to rip me for that in print. Just, not by name, but he would say people who do this are dopes and they don't know what they're talking. Okay. And Steven Strasburg, without him, the Nats would not have won the World Series. It's not just him. Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin, and even Max Scherzer went to the bullpen because the Washington Nationals knew their bullpen wasn't good enough by itself, and they needed the starters in there, and they all performed heroically. And the truth of the matter is that some 3 years later, Max Scherzer finds himself on the IL a couple of times. Patrick Corbin has lost the greatness that he was close to. And Steven Strasburg, after signing a $245 million contract, has pitched something like 37 innings in now the third year. Do I have that correct? This is the third year.
Yep, surprising.
37 innings. So I'm not going to knock Strasburg here. That was my great fear. I mean, you heard me say when he went out the day he pitched, oh my, the over-under is the third inning. He'll look at his right arm. He'll look into the dugout. The train will come out, and that'll be it.
The sun will come out.
Yeah, right. But he got through it. Davey left him in too long. I don't think that has anything to do with the injury. Yeah. He let him roast out there as everybody was hitting him in the fifth inning. But everyone said, he'll be back. 5 days. He's taking another turn. And then a day later, 2 days later, you find out he's going to the injured list. And is it indefinite at this point?
Yeah.
It's not the 15-day. It's the indefinite. So what this says to somebody like me is we are watching now, and I'll be pessimistic about this, we're watching the end. Like, he may never pitch again. He's had this operation. He took his time getting back, much longer than most fans thought. And he went out there and had 5 strikeouts. looked pretty good at
His
times.
secondary pitches were very good.
Yeah,
I think-
was not reaching a high number on the fastball.
Yeah, it was like 91.
But even the World
90.
Series here, you started to look at when he talked about his debut, and then you saw the second act where he started to say, okay, he has figured out a recipe which includes 1 or 2 stints on the IL, and it's using guile, and it's using these other pitches to get people out rather than just a
Overpowering.
mid-90s fastball.
Right.
And now he was not even getting to like 91.
No, he got to 90. Now, I said on the air, well, maybe he was saving it because he didn't want to throw his
Yeah.
arm out. That made sense to me.
Sure.
But I was much closer to optimism than pessimism at the end of that. Much closer. I don't care that he lost. His first time back. He'd been in the minor leagues throwing at people on the P-Nats, and the Fred Nats. Okay, I get it. It doesn't, he's Steven Strasburg. But this one rocks you. This one makes you actually say, does it not, Michael? We may have seen the last of him,
Yeah,
or the last effective part of him.
and
He'll try again.
You're always going to wonder what could have been without those injuries. And now you look at the team where you start to say, even beyond the money, you just think about that one, position in the lineup of your 5 starters, and you think we are years from getting out of this. Forget potential sales, forget Juan Soto. We don't have pitchers.
I never thought, and I did think he could be a Hall of Fame pitcher, but I never thought he was a number 1 pitcher. And what I meant by that was I never thought, like Matt Scherzer, Justin Verlander, they
want
say,
the ball.
give me the ball right now. I don't care if my arm's falling off, give me the ball. Steven Strasburg is not that guy. But he had great talent. And I never doubted that he wanted to pitch. I just said he doesn't get out there. He's the orchid. It doesn't work most of the time. Now, part of me, it's not that I doubt that he wants to pitch, but I think he's probably has to think, as we would all think, am I ever going to do this again? I'm breaking down here. Am I ever going to be able to do this again? I think he's looking at the window closing in his mind. That has to be a possibility.
Sure.
And I'm not sure he ever looked at that before.
Well, and you look at the effect of the 2 COVID seasons, where the first one definitely, with the shortened season and the rules about shutting down teams and all that, and you start to say, okay, from a fan's perspective, it gave you a lot of acceptance as to, okay, it's going to be another season, or we're going to punt on this one because we don't really have a chance. And you just wonder, did some of those happenings, hide the ability to see that closing window?
It's, I think you have to think that's, how many times is he getting out there again? The next time he gets out there, you're going to think, oh, he's going on the IL again.
Why wouldn't you think
He's
that?
going to have to put together a whole season, and he's not in his 20s anymore, right?
No.
He's 33, 34. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's hit at the end, everyone is going to say the exact same thing. Wow, what could have been with this guy? Because there's nobody who ever watched him pitch who didn't think he was great, right?
Yeah.
This is great.
Just amazing. That
The
first.
Nats have had 2 number 1 overall picks. Was Zimmerman a number 1 overall pick?
No, he was just their first pick.
Okay.
I don't think he was a-
I
They
don't
had,
think he
they
was.
had 2 overall number 1s, Strasburg and Harper. They got those right. They got those right. We'll take a break. Michael Wilbon, we hope, is back in D.C. We hope he's on the show when we return. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
The Tony Kornheiser Show is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yeah, while you're listening to me talk, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, or maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you can be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy and you can save money by doing it right from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts, like having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 27 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2020 and May 2021. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
In the summer of 77, Star Wars was on every big screen. George Foster hit 50 for Cincy. The Mets traded Seaver to that same Reds team. Tommy John was a pitcher, not a medical procedure. And Reggie and the Yanks provided intrigue. And a pitcher for GG Movers was MVP of the Long Beach Rec League.
That's funny.
Kornheiser, get in there. We need you. What a beautiful, glorious sound. GG Movers ain't got a prayer without your golden arm on the mound. Kornheiser, quit preening, quit combing your tresses. The fellas are restless, I ain't no Captain Queeg. Grab your glove, here's the ball. Show us once and for all who's MVP of the Long Beach Rec League. 77. What a season, what a summer, what a year. The Yanks won it all. LA showed fatigue, and Kornheiser was MVP of the Long Beach Rec League.
The brilliant Dan Byrne, the turnaround is amazing. I just started talking about GG Movers the other day when I was talking to Wilbon. I have a jersey. I've got everything. Tony Peretta was Gigi. Everybody called him Gigi, and he had a moving truck. This is like 80 years ago. Wilbon joins us now. We have Wilbon. Wilbon is back in the greater D.C. area. He's had a few hours sleep, not many. You never played in a softball league, did you? I mean, you were a baseball pitcher in high school. Did you play softball?
I was. But I also played softball, Tony. Softball in Chicago means something completely different. Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis in the Midwest, you play with a 16-inch clincher.
Oh, the giant ball. Yeah, the giant ball.
Yeah, you play with that.
You don't wear gloves, right? There are no gloves.
No.
Right.
Part of the deal is that enables you to play co-ed.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you know, girls didn't have gloves. They just didn't have gloves. So if you had a co-ed event, and this was at picnics and God knows what, leagues too, then you played with a 16-inch clincher. That's what we played with.
So when I got down to Washington, I played in co-ed leagues, just regular softball co-ed leagues.
Oh, okay.
You know, hit it as hard as you can hit it with the regular clincher.
Yes,
I'd not seen that before. I will concede that when I was on Long Island, I played in only men's leagues. I didn't know there were women's leagues, and we never had a girl who wanted to play. But
co-ed, great.
Yeah, so we did that down by the Washington Monument. I played on the great Bialystock and Bloom team for a number of years. We had a lot of fun. I will say this. I could not, even when I was young, I could not hit a ball pitched by any of the women who pitch in college. I could not hit it. It's too fast. I could not hit it. There's no chance I could have hit it. But I loved the softball that we played. I loved that kind of softball. You must have loved playing softball. It's great. Softball's great.
I loved it. I did it my whole life. I mean, you would do that recreationally, and then you could do it competitively too, which I did a little bit of. But then I moved away from Chicago, and I got here, and everybody was playing the softball that you played.
Yes.
And we didn't do that, so I lost interest after a while. I did.
I remember going, the big deal for me was to go to Jones Beach because they had fields with fences. And the first couple of times that GG Movers went to Jones Beach and I was pitching, guys hit it so far, they cleared the fence by 50 feet. And they just went, oh my God. These were guys, let me describe, and I'm being as accurate as I can be, 6'4" to 6'6", 260 to 280 with grooved swings on a high pitch. An uppercut swing on a high pitch And they hit it so far. What were you going to do?
Huge guys would hit it forever.
So
we had that.
I mean,
we had that in
monsters.
common.
They're
We had
monsters.
that with diamonds in Chicago on the lake, and that was the pastime. In the movie about last night, I think.
I remember that movie. Yeah.
And there was another one which showcased Chicago softball in the summer, and I don't think people do that anymore. I don't. I think it's gone. I think it's generational. I think it's history.
Loved softball. Absolutely love softball. All right, let's get to the purpose of all of these things. We are 3-2 in the series. We had Tim Legler on the show yesterday. Tim Legler said Boston's going to win Game 6 in Boston. What are your thoughts? Steve Kerr, and this is what you say to your team, we're going to go to Boston and win it. You don't say we're going to go to Boston and lose it and come back here and win it. No, you'd be an idiot to say that. So Steve Kerr said what any coach would have said, and he said it quietly. He didn't start jumping up and down. But what are your thoughts about Game 6 in Boston?
Boston's going to win. Those are my thoughts, that Boston's going to win that game tomorrow night. And we go back on Father's Day to San Francisco. I mean, that's what I think is going to happen. The Warriors aren't so much better than the Celtics. But if the Celtics play with the kind of purpose and urgency they will play with to avoid being eliminated, that the Celtics will lose. I just don't see that. They had a chance. We talked about this yesterday, you and I, of course. When Steph Curry goes over on three-pointers, you got to win that game, and they didn't.
Yes. Yeah.
Could Golden State win tomorrow? They could. They've had 2 games in a row now where other people have played better. Wiggins now looks like a guy who could have been chosen number 1 overall. Wait, he was. And now that, listen, Tone, when you're the 4th best guy on your team, and you don't have to be the best guy on your team, which is what number 1 overall suggests you should be.
That's right.
The pressure is so much less. The defensive players he faces as the 4th best guy on a team is so much different for Wiggins. So he's a legit difference maker. And Jordan Poole is now playing better. I think he had 7 shots in a row. They found something here. They could win tomorrow, but I just think Tatum and Brown and Smart will be too good tomorrow and stave off elimination, and that thing will go back to San Francisco.
And there you expect the Warriors to win, right?
I do, but there's some weird things that happen. This year we've seen Milwaukee and Phoenix, and we've seen some really good teams lose Game 7s at home.
I will go back to before the playoffs started, when we were informed, you and I, that the ESPN BPI, the Basketball Power Index, rated the Celtics an 84% chance of winning the series, which to me meant they'd win in 4 or 5. And we both went crazy about that. My feeling now is that even if the Celtics win, the BPI was wrong. Because they had them at 84%, right? That's ridiculous.
It's just stupid. I mean, it's just the way people try to attack sports these days. It's stupid. It's disrespectful. It's not born of anything rational. And so I attacked the BPI on our network.
Yeah.
On a show, on a countdown show, which I probably shouldn't have done. I'm sure somebody in Bristol's very angry at me for that, not that I cared. But yeah, I thought it was 86%. Whatever it was.
Whatever. It was in the 80s.
So dumb.
It was in the 80s.
It was just dumb. Get it out of here. Now after Boston won Game 1 in San Francisco, I was going, let me pipe down a little bit here.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to issue any official apologies, but yeah. So Tony, I think that Curry's gonna probably hit 50% of his threes, but maybe Boston will come up with some things, a couple of wrinkles that will help them just get through Game 6 at home. And the Celtics, by the way, at home, Tony, this postseason are only 6-5.
Yeah, they're not a good home team. Better road team.
No, better road team. Yeah, absolutely.
Better road team. They have to win 2 in a row, which they've done in each series so far and won each series so far. But Golden State doesn't lose 2 in a row. They don't do that.
They haven't done that.
So we'll see.
Since like February.
March. March was the last time.
Okay, you know exactly.
All right,
okay.
Let's move on because tonight the NHL playoffs start. The Stanley Cup Final starts tonight. Tampa Bay and Colorado. You and I have a difference of opinion on this. You like Tampa Bay to win, don't you?
I don't like them. I dislike them.
But you like them to win.
Yeah. They're the champs. They're not playing around. They lost game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. 5-0.
That's right.
Okay? And since then, I think they're 10-1 or something crazy. No, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be 12-1 or 12-2.
Well, yeah, they lost 2 to the Rangers.
Each. Okay,
yeah,
so
they lost
12.
2 to the Rangers.
But they've just, they're the best team. They're the best team. They're champions. They play like champions. They're down in games, 2 goals. They come out. They're ferocious. They're a great goaltender in Vasilevsky. Mm-hmm. And Stamkos was a great end-to-end, two-end player. I'm going to watch tonight. I want to see. I appreciate championship play. I don't care who it is. I got to go beyond Tampa radio today because I've been trashing them, saying I'm rooting for the Rangers and I'm rooting for the Panthers and I'm rooting for anybody but them, but an SEC team. But I admire them. I do. They're the best, Tone. They may be the best since Edmonton. That's a long time ago.
If they get 3 in a row, they're immortal in hockey.
Yeah,
that's right. It doesn't happen. It just the last team to get 3 in a row in hockey,
Islanders,
was the Islanders.
Yeah,
like 50 years ago.
Yeah,
it's a long time ago.
Yeah,
it's a long time ago. All right, let's move on. When the golf starts, the golf starts. But until the golf starts, everybody's just talking about the Saudi Tour versus the PGA Tour. And you and I both like Phil Mickelson very much.
Yep.
We like him. What did you think of his press conference, and what do you think of the Phil you see right now?
He looked scared. He looked terrified to be there, which is crazy. Look, I've gotten to know Phil in the last few years in a different way. One, I now live in the community where Phil's first golf course is authored, Whisper Rock in Arizona. And I've gotten to be around Phil either in Arizona or more so, Steph Curry has an incredible charity event in which Phil became part of, and I co-hosted with Amanda Balionis, for those paying attention for the last few years. And we co-hosted for Steph, and Phil's there. And so you have some meals together, you hang out a little bit, you do stuff. And Phil Mickelson, you can dislike Phil. Phil's not for everybody. But Phil's smart and funny, and he's playful, and he has a good time. And he's engaging, right? He's engaging. He'll talk to you about anything. He will. And the other day, he looked like he was being held hostage. It was not Phil Mickelson that I've gotten to know. So this whole thing, it's not just live. It's all the revelations about what his life allegedly has turned into. And it's scary. I don't know how much of it he's confirmed. I know what people are saying and reporting. And you're just like, oh my God, man, what's happened to Phil Mickelson? And so now he's part of Live. And I think Live is a bigger threat than I think you think it is. Because I think when you say to people, you're going to play one less day, you're going to play half the event, and you're going to make many times the money, they say, sign me up. And so I know there are people in the community in which I live, in Arizona, who are ready to go. They are ready to sign their names on the dotted line now. And so I don't know. I don't know what it means, but I think it's a serious threat. Money is always a serious threat.
I do think it's a serious threat. I certainly think it's a serious threat. I do.
Yeah.
All right. We'll end up talking about, well, you know what? I don't know what we'll talk about today on the show.
We should
Wednesday. I think we should talk a little bit about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson actually said this sentence: "I look forward to being a role model in the community." Are you kidding me? What? What? Okay.
I didn't watch any of that. I was flying.
I did. I watched it this morning.
I went to SFO yesterday, and I see Deshaun Watson in a hoodie, Scully, doing a press conference, and I'm like, uh-oh. I'm glad I'm not around for this.
I look forward to being a role model.
Yeah.
I don't know what universe he's in, but anyway.
He's
all right,
not
I'll
paying
talk to you later.
All
Go back
right,
to sleep.
Sounds good.
Michael Wilbon, boys and girls. We'll come back with Steve Sands. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the X-Chair read. Many of us spend more time every day in our office chair than in our cars or even in our beds. That's why it's so important to invest in the right chair so you'll spend those hours with the right level of support and comfort to get the most productivity out of your day. X-Chair will make the time you spend at your desk not only more productive, but it will become your favorite place to sit for any reason, like talking on the phone or eating dinner. Just roll it around. Not only does X-Chair's patented dynamic variable lumbar, the old DVL, offer the ultimate customized support, but X-Chair can even give you a massage, plus it can heat up or cool down depending on what you need. And now, thanks to X-Chair's new FS 360 armrests, you can even adjust your armrest to the perfect position. All these unique X-Chair features will help the hours at your desk fly by in complete comfort. So go to xchairtony.com now. That's the letter X, chair, TONY.com. Or call 1-844-4-X-Chair for $100 off your order. X-Chair has a 30-day guarantee of complete comfort. You can finance your purchase for as little as $30 a month. xchairtony.com. Use the code, people.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is a band called Old School Groove. It is led by Ricky Harvey. This is sent to us by Douglas Bevan in Adrian, Michigan. And he writes, "This is my friend Ricky Harvey's band named Old School Groove. Old School Groove blends vintage rock, southern rock, and blues. Honestly, I may never have found their music if I wasn't his friend, but it's great stuff. Like you, Mr. Tony, Ricky and I have always made people laugh. We actually tied for the wittiest boy in senior class. We drove a 71 Bug with a Baja kid that he did. Doug did, and he drove a big old station wagon with wood paneling that said sex machine painted in huge letters. Unbelievable. So please play some Old School Groove. They're just great. This is a song called Drawing the Line. And Michael, if people like Old School Groove want to send in their music or have their best friends do it, how they do so?
Send us your music by emailing it to jingles@TonyKornheiserShow.com.
Okay, so Steve Sands joins us, and before we get to that, Nigel has found something worthy of reading.
Yes, on the menu at the starboard in Dewey Beach. I believe it's in Dewey, is it?
It's in Dewey.
Not? The Sands Tots is described as this. NBC Sports and Golf Channel Steve Sands, a close friend to all here and a starboard fan, insisted Monty that he had to bring tater tots to the menu. These tots are covered with melted cheeses, bacon, scallions, drizzled with sour cream on top, and served with Steve's very favorite dressing, our homemade ranch, by dipping. Steve got his wish, so he named it for him. Now it's right next or right below the turgid tenders.
They're coming off the menu. Turgid tenders have a short shelf life.
Yes. And,
Sands Tots.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? You happy for that?
Some people have doctorates. Some people have tater tots.
It's wonderful. Before we start with this, I have to ask you to do me a favor at the country club.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to get me a scorecard, a pristine scorecard from the country club. Not an open scorecard. I don't care about that. Just, there are 2 courses I've played. I put all my scorecards in giant displays. Window boxes. And there are 2 that I played that I never got scorecards for. The country club and Brayburn. You know, I can get one from Brayburn because I know a member. Joe Serafini is a member there, and he took me to play. But the country club, I'd like to have that. You could do that for me?
We can handle that. I will, let's see, what's today, Wednesday? I will go into the clubhouse this afternoon after our production meetings and rehearsal, and I will grab you a fresh scorecard. Hopefully they have them in the clubhouse.
And a pencil, maybe? And a pencil?
Oh, you want
I'd love a pencil. Okay, thank you. All right, let's start with this.
Maybe grab a
Can I give it to you when we're having a drink at Rehoboth Country Club later this summer?
Sure, we can definitely do that.
And would you like me to send it to you right away?
No. You can bring it to me. You can give it to me. We will do that in Rehoboth, and then we'll go get some Sands tots at the Starbucks. Then we'll do that.
Let me tell you something. How on earth could you possibly have a great beach bar and not have tater tots on the menu? I mean, that is
Exactly.
an egregious error by Monty.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, Monty was schooled by you on this, and so it's done. It's done. All right, let's start. Let's start with the timeline. It starts with Phil's press conference on Monday, because Phil said, "Let me get this out of my life." What did you think of it? What did you think? Did you see anything in Phil Mickelson that you remembered from Phil Mickelson?
I have never seen him seem, sound, and look so meek, so sheepish, so not know-it-all, so lacking confidence. He's Phil Mickelson, Tony. Whenever he stood at a podium or been interviewed on live TV by us or carried himself with fans, walked the fairways of every single PGA Tour event or major championship, I mean, Phil Mickelson is an incredible talent, and also kind of the people's champion, the people's choice. He's always carried himself with an amazing amount of confidence. Man, he looked the opposite of that on Monday. I don't know what you thought, Tony, but I did not think he looked good at all.
Sad, uncomfortable, guarded, and I asked myself, will we see Phil Mickelson ever again? Because it looked like, as Wilbon said, and Wilbon said this, it looked like he was a hostage. I mean, it just wasn't anywhere near the Phil Mickelson that we've all come to really enjoy. It was awful, I thought, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. A complete shell of himself. And it was really strange. I mean, I've been around Phil a long, long time professionally. And you're talking about a guy who walks around, literally, he might as well have a shirt on that says, "I'm Phil Mickelson and you're not." And I mean that in a good way. I mean, he has always carried himself with an incredible amount of confidence and moxie and swagger, borderline on cocky and arrogance. And always in an interview has stolen the room for years at Augusta National when he has the microphone in front of him, just having fun with the writers in the press building at Augusta National as a three-time Masters champion. He was nothing like that on Monday. It was bizarre to listen to it. It was bizarre to see.
They have put him in a grouping for the first 2 days with Louis Oosthuizen, a former major winner but from South Africa on the Saudi Tour, and Shane Lowry from Ireland. They did not put him with any Americans from the PGA Tour of consequence. Is there a specific message in that in your mind?
No, there's not, Tony. I mean, I wish there was. I mean, look, you know how tee times work for television. You want them to finish in the big time window on NBC, that kind of thing. And you can't manipulate tee times for Saturday and Sunday. They're based on how things go on Thursday and Friday. But you can manipulate, in a good way, I don't mean that in a bad way, manipulate tee times for Thursday and Friday for television. And we were hoping that, we were going to see some serious contentiousness there in at least one or two of the groups, most notably Phil Mickelson. But they chose the safe route, and they are not going to do that. But look, no matter who Mickelson played with on Thursday and Friday at this particular U.S. Open, by the way, tomorrow's his birthday, he received some really good crowd love yesterday. I was walking the golf course, Tony, and I walked by his group a couple of times, and he was not getting heckled. I think Sergio Garcia might get roughed up over the next few days here by the Boston fans. But Phil Mickelson didn't seem like he was going to get roughed up, and we were thinking that he may or may not, and it looks like the may not is going to win out.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Do you expect reactions, I'm not booing or anything like that, but sort of disgust with the people who have left for the Saudi Tour, as opposed to great cheers for the Rorys and the JTs of the world?
Yeah, I think Mickelson was the only person really who, the fans have gotten on over the years who has done this is Sergio. And I think Sergio is still going to receive his fair share Boston cheers. Nigel will love that, being the big Bostonian that he is. I think that Mickelson, I know yesterday, Tony, I'm telling you, yesterday he received a lot of love. He was given those, goofy, thumbs up like a president of the United States kind of does, and, tipping him to the hat. He was kind of, meekly smiling and waving at people, that kind of thing. I think he's embarrassed, Tony. I think he's very uncomfortable with the decision that he's made and having to go public with a lot of things that were also private to him. And now he's trying to work his way back into it. But he's trying to work his way back into it, Tony. He's not that good of a golfer, right now. He's not playing great golf. He's going to be 52 years of age tomorrow. But, yeah, he'll receive a lot of love. But I think Sergio might get roughed up. The other guys, nobody's booing Taze, and nobody's booing Brandon Grace. That kind of thing. Justin Johnson, he'll get a heckle here or there. The Boston Herald had a brutal headline yesterday on Mickelson. I don't know if you saw it or not.
No,
it wasn't the Globe, it was the Herald. The headline was, "Shame on you, Phil." And then the story was about how he didn't even belong here. And it was rooted in a lot of things. I'm not sure if you heard Christine Brennan's exchange with him on Monday. It was about the 9/11 families who wrote the letter. One of the planes came from here at Logan Airport in Boston. The Boston Herald decided to jump on that angle, rightly or wrongly. That's up to you. You're the journalist, not me. But they decided to go that angle, and Phil did not receive many heckles. He might get one or two here and there, but for the most part, he'll get a lot of love.
Yeah, because he's got a history of people liking him for a long period of time.
Correct.
And if there's anyone out there that people will forgive, because what they'll do, and this is an easy thing to say he's a degenerate gambler. He needs the money. We still love him.
Yeah.
That's an easy out for people. It honestly is an easy out. Let me go to one other thing.
It is.
I've been watching live from. I've watched this a couple of nights now. Brandel Chambly, and I will say this, I like Brandel Chambly. I think he's terrific on television, and I think he's fearless on television. And some of the things he said about Tiger, for example, over the years have gotten Wilbon to hate him. But he took out after Phil. Whoa, man. He called him duplicitous. He called him disingenuous. He's been on this thing. Does he represent, in your mind, the sort of golf establishment point of view? Because he killed him. He did. Killed him.
He did. He's been killing him for months and months about all this. And he's been killing, to be fair, all the guys who decided to leave the PGA Tour for Live Golf. Brandel has interestingly made this a morality issue and not a golf issue. And clearly this isn't growing the game. Clearly this is splintering the professional aspect of the sport. And it's dominating conversation at a U.S. Open, which is not fair to the U.S. Open. But that's the way sports works. That's the way life works. Brandel has a massive, massive problem with the funding, the backing by the Saudis for Live Golf. And he has made his opinions very well known. And Mickelson, the problem that he has with Mickelson is the problem that most people have with Mickelson. He always kind of is right on that edge, Tony, of is he being genuine or is he being disingenuous? He straddles that line a lot. And, when you come out and you are as visible and as great a player as Phil has been for the better part of 3 decades as a pro, and you don't exactly adhere to your words, that has bothered Brandel, and Brandel has taken a flamethrower to Live Golf and to Phil Mickelson specifically on TV for the last 3 months, and the last few days he's really torched him.
So I will say this, and I tried to say this the other day when Jim Nantz interviewed Jay Monahan.
Yeah.
Those questions were the right questions. They were totally predictable. Jim Nantz could have given him the questions the night before because everybody understands that. What you have to understand is a lot of people are saying it's terrible to take the money from the Saudis.
Right.
There's money on the other side too. CBS, the Golf Channel, everybody's a partner with the PGA Tour. So you have to understand that this seems to me to actually be an epic struggle. It really does. This seems to be a big deal to me, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, it's a very big deal. And to be fair to the networks, if you're ESPN Plus and you're Disney, which is pays part of your salary, Tony.
Yes.
And you're Comcast,
Partners.
which is NBC and Golf Channel.
Partners.
CBS, you're partners with the PGA
Yes.
Tour. People need to not that need to understand is the wrong way to put it. Television partners are different than Doug Ferguson, who's the AP golf writer coming to every golf tournament. He's not. We're paying to be here. We're paying to show this. So we are technically a partner. And when that partnership and that contract with that media partner isn't exactly what the media partner, was paying for, then perhaps they get a little bit upset and are making phone calls. I don't know if that's the case, but I would assume some difficult conversations are going to be taking place here in the next few weeks if they haven't already, because I know the sponsors of PGA Tour events are unhappy. I know that the players on the PGA Tour are not extremely pleased with what's going on and how this is all unfolded and taking place. It's a very, very fine line. I heard you the other day when you were talking about Nance and Monahan on CBS on Sunday on your show. I can't remember if it was PTI or your podcast, Tony, but I heard you having that conversation. I totally agree with you. I thought that Jim's questions were correct.
Totally.
And I don't think Jay handled it very well. He didn't look very good. He didn't sound very good. It was you could, as someone said to me yesterday, he looked like a 9-year-old child whose toys were taken from him. It seemed like he was, being combative and arrogant as opposed to exuding or evoking confidence. And answering a question with a question is never a good idea. I mean, that's never ever a good idea. Yeah, I agree with you totally on your assessment of how Monahan Saturday looked the other day. But he's in a difficult spot, Tony. Man, oh man, can you imagine what's going through his mind? They are being besieged right now. They are fighting for their lives right now, and it's going to be a race with money and time to see who ends up winning this thing.
All right, I'll get you out of here on this. This is the easy question. Pick a winner for us.
If you think picking a winner is easy, you're out of your mind. Let's see. I'll go with 3 guys. I saw Tommy Fleetwood yesterday. Tommy Fleetwood, the harder the golf course, the better he plays. He's an off-the-board pick. All right? A medium-range pick would be Will Zalatoris. Again with Will Zalatoris. He's never won before on the PGA Tour, but man, he plays these major championships well, Tony. And Will Zalatoris, it's a big if that putter can just behave from 6 feet and in, Will Zalatoris will be there at some point on the weekend, giving himself another chance to win one of these big 4 events. And Rory McIlroy's coming off a win last week. And you know how much I love Rory, and I'm not picking him because I love him. I'm picking him because he's playing great. And when he plays great, he tends to continue playing great for a while. The last time he won a major was 8 years ago. It's a long time. But he won the previous week on the PGA Tour, the last time he won a major.
Yes, he did.
It's the exact same case as this. So, and we've heard him, we've watched him, and for the first time in a long time, Tony, because of this live golf, because of what's going on in this sport, McIlroy has taken the flag and the mantle of the PGA Tour, and he is playing with a chip on his shoulder. If he can wedge and putt it the way he did last week, here at Brookline, here at the Country Club, Rory McIlroy is going to win another U.S. Open.
He hit wedges. He hit like 8 wedges within 10 feet. It was just amazing.
It was unreal.
It was amazing. Enjoy yourself. We'll talk after it. Thanks, Steve.
All right. A pencil and a scorecard coming your way, Tony.
Please. Steve Sands, boys and girls.
And
we'll take
some
a break. Yeah, well, we'll get those out at Monty's restaurant at the Starboard, Mr. Montgomery. We will come back with email and jingle. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Are people still trying to make plans with you this summer? That's a mistake, because if you aren't booked and busy already, you're just going to have to tell them to try again in the fall. You've got pool days, pride parades, bachelor parties, and beach vacations waiting for you. I have about 3 or 4 of those. It's a lot, but thankfully, MeUndies wants to help make this summer the most enjoyable one you'll never forget. Because when you're living your best life, the last thing you'll want to worry about is what the boys would say, bum sweat.
Bum sweat.
Bum sweat. What's so great about the MeUndies copy is they're not afraid of the line. They go right up to it and then past it. And they bury it just late enough at the read so you don't catch it. When you're comfy and feeling good, you're more present to enjoy all your summer plans. It's like science or something. MeUndies has the lightest, most breathable fabrics to keep you cool and comfortable wherever you go. Again, it's two-a-days. From undies, socks to loungewear and swimwear, you can find something for all your plans. MeUndies also releases new prints all the time, like their limited edition Pride collection. You can match with your partner, friends, or even your dog. Now, how about this? What's a big summer release? Do you remember a movie you took me to in 1993? I think it's the one time you held my hand.
What was the name of the movie?
Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah, it's a scary movie.
Yeah.
This is the 23rd Jurassic Park.
Yeah, well, it's even scarier when you got some pterodactyls trying to escape your underpants.
Oh, okay.
Find your ultimate summer comfort in sizes extra small to 4XL.
Why do you remember everything?
So I can use it against you on a podcast almost 30 years later. You did it. You crazy. You really did it. MeUndies has a great offer for our listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off for a limited time. If you sign up for their free-to-join MeUndies membership, you get 25% off your first membership item. To get 15% off your first order, 25% off your first membership item, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/TonyK. That's MeUndies.com/TonyK.
Good job, Michael.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Can I buy some Wi-Fi, man? Someone help me understand. 45G coverage doesn't reach me. The connection's fine when I'm on the road, but on the couch it just won't load. It never works at Uncle Benny's table.
Show arrows. Great.
Mr. Tony, please listen. A cell tower, you're missing. Wi-Fi scan. The settings are in the palm of your hand. The signal's 1 bar, there's your proof. Maybe try it up on the roof. Just pay the bill and throw it up against the wall.
Joe Arrow doing the Beatles, doing Nowhere Man. It's totally brilliant.
Yeah, just terrific.
Totally brilliant.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so very, very much. Nigel, you want to do the Bethesda Bagel ad?
Yes, Bethesda Bagels, we love them. You will as well. All you need to do is go to BethesdaBagels.com for the location in the DC area nearest you, then pop on in and you'll be thrilled.
That'll do it for us today. Before we get to the mailbag, let me just say, wouldn't it be nice if we were older, then we wouldn't have to wait so long? Wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong? You know, it's going to make it that much better when we can say goodnight and stay together. That's Brian Wilson. Those are the Beach Boys. That's from the Pet Sounds album. Thanks to our guests today, Michael Wilbon and Steve Sands. Thanks to today's sponsors, Progressive X-Chair and MeUndies, a great read by Michael. Remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Odyssey. If you get the show through Apple, please leave us a review. Okay. So I got this note from Chan Hardwick the other day, and now it is confirmed by Jonas McDavid. Your recollection of the members of Love and Spoonful was correct, but perhaps incomplete. Did you or Michael know that John Sebastian is a Blair Academy alumnus, class of 1962? In fact, he made a return to Blair last weekend for the first time since his graduation. He was part of the inaugural class inducted into Blair's Arts Guild. Can you tell Chan that was one he didn't get done on his watch? I think this is worthy of an Edith Chan moment. Also, congratulations to my class of 92, classmates Adam and Tasha, who were also inducted into the inaugural Arts Guild Honor Wall with Mr. Sebastian. I didn't know that he
So Chan had told us about this at a dinner once, which of course you forgot. I wonder if he stayed in the Freeman dormitory, which I watched over for a number of years.
So John Sebastian, I mean, he went to Blair.
Yeah.
So did his brother. Apparently, they submitted that song as an independent project, and their teacher gave them a D+ on that song. Summer in the City.
Really?
A D+. Chan wrote me that.
That's Blair education for you.
D+ for Summer in the City. The two greatest summer songs of all time are Up on the Roof and
Summer in the City.
Summer in the City. You kidding me?
Yeah.
From Brent Richards, Brent from Kingston. Dear Dr. Tony, I used to buy baguettes from Zalyanovsky. He was a baker. He sold baguettes before he was a rock and roll guitarist. He was also, I think, deported from the United States.
I think he
at
was.
one point.
Yes, I think he went back to Canada, yes.
In that song Creek Alley, they do Zolly Dolly, something like that. Yeah. Don't you think that I wish I could play guitar like you? That's Denny Doherty saying that to him. Don Ames, it's Kingston, Ontario, Canada. So you're reading the old emails, huh? Let me ask you something. How are you on the Bay Bridge? From Anita in Alaska, Anita Archuleta, who we like very much.
We love Anita, yes.
Could you let me know when you get to the emails from May 2009? I may or may not have sent one about that time I sat next to Mind That Bird. From Brandon Costello, I look forward to hearing this email read on the show in August of 2024.
See, look what you started.
From Phil Popielski in Westminster, Maryland. When I saw this picture, you were the first person I thought of. Still trying to figure out how you did not know the Capitals blocked Penguin fans for years at buying playoff tickets. Oh, this is a great picture of a full moon all in orange going right through.
Isn't that
show this to
fantastic?
Michael, going right through a basketball hoop with an iron net.
Wow.
That's fantastic. From Jim Cardacci. So, Tony, I'm summering in Bethany Beach, working at Baywood Greens in Long Neck. I noticed tonight is a full strawberry moon. I thought Michael could show Bootsy and the Hammer. I wish I could afford Hickman's in Rehoboth, but Chick-fil-A #1 at under $8 and no sales tax fits my budget. Baywood Greens has the most beautiful floral arrangements of a golf course. The most beautiful. Greg Dennis. He says, I hate warm weather hockey teams. Signed Greg from Where It's Cold. Nobody hates them like Wilbon. Wilbon hates warm weather hockey teams. From Alexander Kahn in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a lawyer. I have been for years. I don't like it. It's boring. On your podcast last Friday, you said that to have your job, you need to first have a job at the Washington Post as a sports columnist. Would you please ask Barry Svrluga if I could have his job? Many thanks. From Andrew Manning.
Oh, yes. This
in
one.
Kalamazoo, Michigan. On a recent trip to the Finger Lakes, my wife and I had a couple of hours to kill before our Airbnb was available. So we settled on a trip to the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester. The museum was wonderful, and we spent several hours going through all of the exhibits on the first floor. Nearing the end of our visit, I noticed a sign that said National Toy Hall of Fame, second floor, and I thought, I wonder. I went upstairs, walked over to the inductees area, and sure enough, there it was, Sand, inducted 2021. I, of course, immediately started laughing, which prompted my wife to ask why, and I followed with a lengthy explanation of the podcast. Now, Mr. Tony had caught wind of Sand's induction and has ranted about it ever since. My wife gave me a blank stare and said the old Michael Scott bit, I love inside jokes. I'd love to be a part of one someday, to which I replied, perhaps you should start listening to the podcast. If your downloads start going up, you're welcome. And he sends a picture of the induction plaque into the National Toy Hall of Fame of Sand.
It's official.
And the plaque says, sand may be the most universal toy in the world. From a geologist's perspective, sand is a dry, gritty material consisting of small, loose pieces of rock, soil, minerals, and gemstones. But children recognize sand as a creative vehicle for play suitable for pouring, scooping, sieving, raking, and measuring. Wet sand is even better, ready to construct, shape, and sculpt. And the only thing I would say to that is sand is not a toy.
Here's the description. It's sand.
It's sand.
Yes.
It's not a toy. Stop it. If you're out on your bike tonight, everyone, as always, do wear white.
Want to talk real customers? Kid, that's me. I'm like the mayor of Duncan.
I go from Marblehead to Revere.
All right. So that was the Wednesday, June 15th episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show. I think we've got enough fuel to get kind of to the northeasternmost part of Nunavut, Canada, just before crossing over the Baffin Bay, the Davis Strait more specifically, to get to Greenland. That's probably where we'll have to find a place to land. We'll probably crash again on this flight because there won't be any airports there, since we're kind of out of civilization here. But I think we've got enough fuel for one more episode of the Tony Kornheiser Show. This is from just yesterday, Friday, June 17th. Probably a lot of talk about the U.S. Open, which I was at yesterday. So here we go.
Previously on the Tony Kornheiser Show.
These tots are covered with melted cheeses, bacon, scallions, drizzled with sour cream on top, and served with Steve's very favorite dressing, our homemade ranch, by dipping. Steve got his wish, so he named it for him. Now it's right next or right below the turgid tenders.
They're coming off the menu. Turgid tenders have a short shelf life.
Yes.
Sans tots.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? You happy for that?
Some people have doctorates, some people have tater tots.
The Tony Kornheiser Show is on now.
All right. Let me get to the lesser news in my life first, and then the bigger news in my life second.
I'm very interested to see how you order this one.
The lesser news in my life is the basketball is over. It's the Warriors won.
Yes.
I'm going to have to talk about this, thankfully, for the last time on the PTI show. In fact, the lead I will write says, but we begin today for the last time this year with the NBA Finals. So I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm going to say two things about the NBA Finals, and I watched the first half. That's all I got to is the first half. Two things. I'm happy that the Warriors won. I don't hate the Celtics. Love the Celtics. Celtics are a class organization. Love the Celtics. But I'm happy the Warriors won for this particular reason. I'm so tired of hearing about Kevin Durant's essential quality to the Warriors winning. I'm tired of that. Kevin Durant's the best basketball player in the world. I don't dispute that. I don't dispute it. But now they have what we like to call a BD title before Durant, and now they had an AD title after Durant. And the three guys that made that happen were players are Curry, Thompson, and Green, and then the coach Steve Kerr. They got four now. One before Durant, two with Durant, and then Durant, in some crazy decision, thought that it'd be smarter to play with Kyrie Irving than Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Come on, somebody is down the road will get the truth out of that, because that's insane. And now they have one after Durant. So we don't have to hear this narrative anymore. We don't have to hear it. I'm happy about that, so I don't want to hear it. Second thing I want to say is not a single game in this series was decided by fewer than 10 points. Last night was 13 or 14. Not a good fourth quarter, not a competitive fourth quarter in the entire series. Most people you talk to, other than Wilbon, because he's there and he loves it and he's immersed in it, he's so immersed in it, he's in a cocoon and can't see the forest for the trees, in my opinion. Most people, you say, how long did you go? And they go, about 6 minutes to go, I was done. Because there was no drama. All you ask for as a sports fan with a game is close, late. Those two words, close, late. Not a single game close, late in the finals. I'm not saying they're not great players. I'm not saying the games weren't good to that point. But they were unsatisfying and they were not dramatic. And that's all I have to say. And we're not going to have a guest on that today. Wilbon eventually will talk about it and tell you how great it was. Oh, okay. We look at the world differently. The bigger news in my life, I'd like my son to talk about it.
About the Phillies coming to town?
No, that's big, though. That's big, though, because we could ask Steve Rose for some tickets.
Yes, I don't want to get choked up for this, but Father's Day came early in my household.
Yeah.
After the show on Wednesday, Liz and I, we went over to Sibley Hospital, and that afternoon, just before 4 o'clock, really was hoping for a good round number like 4 o'clock. We welcomed Reed Rawlings Kornheiser to our family.
So the birth is on 6/15. Now, I sort of like that in this regard, because you always think, well, what's going on at 6:15? Like 6:15, we'll meet for dinner or drinks or something like that. 6:15 has a good ring to it. Now, I would have preferred, it's just
on
me.
On the quarter, a strong number, yeah.
Yeah, I would have preferred 6, 16, 22, because the 6 and the 16 add
That's
up.
good numbers there, yeah.
So I would have liked
some
that.
things you don't control.
But I'm happy with 6:15. The boy's name is Reed. Could you spell it?
R-E-E-D.
Okay, now I bring that up for two reasons. I have no control over names. All right.
Hey, you certainly tried in the past.
I didn't try this time.
You
asked me a couple of questions. I gave you a couple of answers.
showed your influence.
I gave you a couple of answers. There's a pretty well-known lawyer in town named Reed Weingarten. He is R-E-I-D.
Oh, sure.
R-E-I-D. What I would have preferred, and by the way,
yeah,
I like the name Reed. I do.
That's great.
I didn't think, I saw it and I went, I like that one. I like Reed. I already have a nickname, the Thin Man. because he's thin as a reed.
William Powell.
Yeah, the Thin Man.
You already make him sound like a villain.
I got Bootsy the Hammer and the Thin Man.
36 years old.
But
hours.
Yeah,
I'm 36.
but
Bootsy the Hammer and the Thin Man.
but what I would have preferred
It's a good book title.
is READ, because that would have harkened back to my career. Hey, Reed Kornheiser. He's writing today. Hey, Reed Kornheiser. Now, nobody names their kid Reed READ. Nobody names him that. I understand that. But where'd you get Reed from?
So this is
I sort of like it.
This is a family name on Liz's side, and you try and balance these things out. So if you look, all three of our boys carry the Kornheiser family name. And we.
Which name is that? The last name?
The last name.
Until they change it.
Say it's the most important one for you.
Yes. Yeah.
So Grandpop Chan has a great uncle. This was Huntington Reed. I believe Huntington Reed, who was a big football player at Harvard.
Yeah.
So we're already
All-American, right?
Already thinking about admissions.
Yeah.
Though the kid won't play football.
What do you? Well, the Hammer's going to play football or catch.
I don't think football will be sort of still as available to them in the next 15 to 20 years, but that's just me. So yeah, you try and approach each child and the name process to try and find something that's unique to them and natural to them in that moment where we are as a family, because already we're trying to think what are the boys going to nickname this little guy? What are they going to call him? So we're already predicting the preschool crowd going, "Hi, Weed," as they try to.
I mean, Bob Cousy would say
they
that.
Try and
Hello,
work through that R, that strong
I gotta know
R.
Bob Cousy to know.
Yes, and then it's amazing. You go to the hospital, and I'm going by these rooms, and I go, I remember that's where Henry was born, and that's the hallway where I remember calling up you and calling up Mom, and the first thing you're saying is, you can't name Henry Phillip. That's your name.
It's your name.
And just waiting for the hammer to drop as you show the criticism here. So yeah, Reed and Rawlings are family names.
So, Rawlings is not a name that if you gave me 100 shots, is a baseball glove.
Yeah.
I was going for Wilson A2000.
So, but didn't you have a Rawlings glove? I had a Rawlings glove.
I had a Rawlings, the Tony Gwynn model.
Yeah. So I'm thinking this kid's got to be a baseball player.
Yeah, I think that's just make sure he does everything left-handed.
So we've been, and this is what's so great about
is that a family name?
Yeah.
Is that a first name or a last name?
What's so great about our pediatrician is she is a Nads fan, and oftentimes we're able to sort of punt the appointment down the line as we lament over what's going on with the team.
Like Corbin.
Yeah, and so every
Can't
time
get
we're
anybody
like, we're really hoping that he's a lefty closer. She's like, okay, good.
Did you not think of Wander possibly as a name?
Swear
Still wandering, yeah.
Reed.
Dad doesn't like
Rawlings.
ER names. We learned that after Walker.
Oh,
but
okay.
But I like. That's right. It's
Don't
not
even hide.
No. ER names, British occupations in the 1600s. But that's me. That's not my child.
Right.
You named me after Mick Jagger.
Yeah, Michael Phillip Jagger. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a star. Rawlings, it's a last name to me, but I'm good with it because it's a baseball glove.
Yeah.
I'm good with it for that. Did you have to have thought of that it's a baseball glove?
Yeah, and that's one reason why you might say it's less problematic for a middle name if you're worried about what are people going to call you. So
Yeah. So I'll go back in my life with the name Reed. I don't have any. I mean, Robert Reed was an actor on television.
Sure.
Donna Reed, everybody loved. Everybody loved Donna Reed, R-E-E-D.
Yep.
Nobody likes Patrick Reed. Nobody likes him. Did you?
Yes, of course. And
You thought about that, right?
Of course, Liz is, he probably has all the Liv players, Liv Moss, starred on his U.S. Open app, and of course he goes to Patrick Reed. No, this is, I think it's so fun to go down the history of family names and to try and think about how you can bring those into sort of new generations. Again, I'm a child of adoption, and to think about how I'm able to have our family going forward be a hybrid and honor and recognize where both sides of our families come from. Yes, sorry.
No, but I mean, how long? I never asked you about a name. I never asked about the sex of the child, if you knew or not.
You
I
have
didn't want to know.
rules.
I didn't want to know. And I never asked about a name. How long did you have, were it a boy? Or would you, if it was a girl, would it be Reed too? Could be.
If this is behind the curtain, if you're to go back to my little notebook where we keep all the scores from our experts picking football games, you will see roughly handwritten versions of dozens of names. So don't find that notebook. So we've had names that have been, sort of we've been talking about for years, because again, this is boy number 3 for us.
Yeah.
And every pregnancy presents its own problems, and I know there's a lot of our listeners who are sort of dealing with family planning or what that looks like for them. So you don't want to try and look too far forward. So we obviously shared names that we thought were nice, that we thought might sound great, and then going into the final stretch, you sort of try and rally around something that is really that's really exciting. And we did not want to have the exact name picked out beforehand, so you pick maybe 1 or 2, and then you try and write them out by hand to see how they feel on paper, how they're gonna sound when the director of the school calls their name, or when they're signing up for an after-school program. So we did not have that name.
Detention again.
Yeah, detention.
Reed Kornheiser.
Come to the principal's
Kornheiser
office.
the 3rd. So we had 2 names that we felt very good about. The other name, don't ever have to share. Yeah.
No, don't. But I will say, because everybody who knows me knows that I have been critical of names. I have been, and I have not. I have my own agenda for names. Everyone does, and that's perfectly fine. I saw Reed, I looked at it, and I said, you know what? I like that. Now, the first thing I thought of, honestly, was a reed in an instrument, because it was R-E-E-D, and I thought of Chuck Todd. I did. I thought Chuck Todd and the French horn.
Yeah.
And then I thought of the Thin Man, because everybody says thin as a reed.
Yeah.
Right? That's
yes.
a very common thing.
Yes.
Then I thought of the Thin Man. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get to that later.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a drawing. It's a very lovely drawing that we got. Cartoon drawing.
Yeah.
We're doing a show here.
By the way, Willis Reed, another Reed.
Willis Reed. Yeah, everybody. I love the captain, number 19. I might call the kid the captain, but I was thinking of the Thin Man. But how about the captain?
I kind of like the captain.
How about the captain, number 19?
Captain.
Left side, number 19. Willis Reed. Maybe the captain.
I like
Bootsy, the Hammer, and the captain.
Now that's a TV show.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like that.
So he'll be the captain. I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't come up with that.
Well, actually, Sean texted me and said, "Don't forget Willis Reed." So we'll give Sean credit to that.
Yeah.
But I do have this list.
I don't know anyone's. Again, Reed Weingarten. I don't know any other Reed as a first name. I'm sure there are. I just don't know any.
But you'd see this for when you have a last name like Kornheiser, and
you want a short first name.
It's a long last name.
Yes.
And for this generation in this area, it's still recognized. It sounds unique, so it stands out. So you sort of want a name that plays well off it.
I totally agree.
One of the best people I've ever known.
And we dropped the ball with Walker. So
a friend of mine named Reed Cattell.
So you know a Reed?
Yeah, just one of the best people I ever know. So that's so.
Do you know any?
No, I taught a Reed many years ago, but no, I don't. You're also trying to you look through these names and I don't want to slight any name, but you're trying sitting there going, like Henry is a popular name, but it's also a family name. It sort of fits, but there's other names that become the name of the 2010s.
I think you need to have, as Heather was 30 years ago or something like that, or Tiffany, something like that. I think you need, and I always did this, because Kornheiser it's not just that it's long and hard to pronounce and all of that. It's that it's dominant. It's long and I wanted my children to have very common, popular names because I thought their last name was difficult. So in other words, I would not have done, I don't want to, slight.
Be careful with the name.
Yeah. I would not have done, because Elizabeth is a long name, but it's a very, everybody knows the name Elizabeth. I would have not gone for something esoteric.
But also,
I did not want to do
gives
that.
you a lot of paths where a lot of people go professionally as Liz.
Liz, Lizzie,
Betsy.
Beth, all of that. And Michael is about the most common name. I felt if you're going to have a last name that is utterly uncommon, give your children...
Well, then you go through elementary school as Michael K, because, of course, in the 90s, there's 4 or 5 Michaels in every class.
Sure. I've probably told you the story before. My dear friend Jody Forstad, his brother is Stephen. So Stephen Forstad is he's close to 80 years old. So you go back to that period of time in the 1940s, the early to mid 1940s, and when his brother got to college, there were like 9 Stephens on the floor, and this is Princeton. He went to Princeton. 9 Stephens on the floor. So So they all made a deal. They would go by their middle names. His middle name was Lance. At that point, he became Lance for the rest of his life.
Sure.
Because there were so many Stevens, and that's true with Michael. There's so many Michaels.
The last time you could probably change your name that easily because you're just in this new world of college.
Yeah. And so, and you can do it then.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's hard.
And you don't have an email address yet.
Right.
Can I like to do this when people are born to tell, whose birthdays they share. Have you looked this up yet?
No, I've not.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, yes, that's on the list. Tim Lincecum, remember him? Neil Patrick Harris, Andy Pettit, Justin Leonard, Courtney Cox, Ice Cube, Helen Hunt, Wade Boggs.
Why didn't you name him Ice Cube?
This is a strong list.
It's very good. This is a very good day. Jim Belushi, the head of China, Xi Jinping, Dusty Baker shares a birthday with young Reed.
High
Love that.
five.
Mike Holmgren, Johnny Halliday, the famous
French singer, a French Beatle.
Harry Nilsson, Billy Williams, Wilbon would love that.
Yes.
Waylon Jennings, Mario Cuomo, and this is the largely accepted date that Ben Franklin put that kite up in the sky in 1752 to conduct his.
Now, you don't want to name your kid Kite Kornheiser. That's not going to work.
But that's a good day. That's a lot of good
It's a strong day, strong
so
birthday.
good for him.
Again, if only 4 o'clock on the dot. I tried to get the nurses like, are we leaning 4 o'clock? And they're like, no, 3:59, 40 seconds.
We'll take a break. When we return, Tim Kirkchin will join us. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is the Shopify read. I'm good till about halfway through.
Just play the sound and you'll be even better.
Shopify is more than a store. Connect with your customers, drive sales, manage your day-to-day. Got it. Shopify instantly lets you accept all major payments. Got it. Shopify has thousands of integrations and third-party apps. Somewhat have it. From on-demand printing to accounting to advanced chatbots to and beyond. Lost it. Supercharge your knowledge, your sales, and your success. Discover endless possibilities. Shopify is tirelessly reinventing tools of growth for over 1.7 million businesses, helping them succeed every day. Discover inspiration. Shopify believes in liberating commerce for all, because entrepreneurship has the power to drive communities forward, and commerce can be a force for good. Discover your possible. Shopify unlocks the opportunity of your business to more people every day. Every 28 seconds, an entrepreneur like you makes their first sale on Shopify. Do you want to explain Shopify to people like me?
I'd say every time you do this read, you're just giving the chat box more specific language to use when people type into said chat box. What exactly would you say you do here? Bring your business online. Create an e-commerce website backed by powerful tools that help you find customers, drive sales, and manage your day-to-day. Pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
Said the chat box.
Chatbot. Go to Shopify.com/Tony K. Make it all lowercase when you type it in. Shopify.com/Tony K for a free 14-day trial. Get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to Shopify.com/Tony K right now. And one more time, Shopify.com/Tony K.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show. Tony Kornheiser Show.
This is a band called the Young Rochelles. The lead guy is Ricky Rochelle. This is described to me as pop punk by Jerry Silverstein, who sends the music in. Says, by way of introduction, I'm Jerry Silverstein. I graduated Harper College in Binghamton in 1969. I had friends in common with Tony. My path after Harper took me into teaching, where I ended up at a wonderful middle school directing plays, teaching theater and video production. During my last decade teaching, I had the opportunity to pursue songwriting, spend time in Nashville, ended up with a Tony nomination for my work on Urban Cowboy on Broadway. That recognition opened a number of doors for me, and I've spent recent years working with young singer-songwriters. I want you to introduce you to one of them, a talented pop-punk musician, Ricky Rochelle. He'll have 2 songs for us today. This is called All She Needs. It's lovely.
It
in
is.
its own way.
Yeah.
And it plays in Tim Kirkchin. Tim, normally I would start with the Nats and how stinking they are, and how Patrick Corbin, I don't care if none of the runs are earned, he couldn't get anybody out after there was an error. But I'm not even going to do that. I want to start sort of with the Phillies, because the Nats still have to play them 18 more times, and the Nats are not going to win 3 of those games. It's going to be 2-17, the season series. So the Phillies fired Joe Girardi and cannot lose. And the Angels fired Joe Madden and win here and there, but it's not like it was the same miracle cure for both teams. How do you assess that? What does that say about the manager that was fired, if anything?
I don't think it says much, Tony, except for this. I've found with our players in baseball, and this probably goes for all of society, at some point they're tired of hearing a certain voice, and all you have to do is present a new voice, and sometimes they respond. Joe Girardi was a little bit uptight about things. He'll be the first to acknowledge that. He grinds it out a little too much, and I think a new voice there really helped. But let's not forget, Tony, they have a bad defensive team. They have a terrible bullpen, and they lost a game in the ninth inning the other night that was just ridiculous. So I don't think they're all better. And now they're going to, even though they're 10-2 in June, they're going to make the playoffs for sure. I don't think so. And as far as the Angels go, I mean, Joe Madden was completely opposite of Joe Girardi. He was the one that wasn't grinding every day, according to some people, and therefore that was a bad thing, which I don't believe either one of them is a bad thing. I just believe that our players today don't respond maybe like they used to the manager, no matter who the manager is, and after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's enough, and you got to get another voice in there.
So I don't think that somebody wakes up, a general manager or an owner wakes up one morning and says, that's it for this guy. I think you think about it for a while. I think it takes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I'm sure you agree with me. These are not spur-of-the-moment decisions. And yet...
They're not. Yeah,
no,
sorry.
They're planned. And yet, maybe 99% of the time, they bring in a guy from the coaching staff. Like, they don't go out and hire a guy. You know what I mean? They just plug a guy in from the coaching staff. Do you think that's smart?
Well, I've never quite understood that because look at Rob Thompson, for instance, with the Phillies, who's done a great job. He's been with Joe Girardi for a long time. They think much the same way. So he's just an extension of Joe Girardi. He just does things in a slightly different way, and eventually that team had to get better because it couldn't get worse. Now, in the case of Phil Nevin with Joe Madden, they don't have that same kind of history. Phil Nevin is very much an old-school baseball guy who isn't interested in the analytics. Neither was Joe Madden, but Phil's gonna do things a little differently than Joe also. So, yes, they've been thinking about it with Madden, who I repeat, did not deserve to get fired. They've been thinking about it. He kind of messed up this spring saying Mike Trout might have to move out of center field, which was not really supposed to be said. Then he intentionally walked somebody with nobody on base, Corey Seager. This didn't just wake up one morning and say, we have to do this. But I must say, both of these teams woke up one morning and said, this season is slipping away now, and we're going to do it. We have to do it now.
Do you agree with me? This is so far afield, although it's the subject of managing. Do you agree with me that if the Washington Nationals were not for sale, both Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez would be gone by now?
I'm not quite so sure about that.
Okay.
I mean, Mike Rizzo especially has an excellent reputation in the game. And the fact that they won it all in 2019, I think gives both of those guys a little longer leash. But the sale of the team thing, I must say, Tony, has me confused. I'm not sure what this means. I mean, does this mean you have to re-sign Juan Soto? Does this mean Soto is definitely leaving? What does this mean for Rizzo and Martinez? I must say I'm having a little trouble figuring out the strategy of all this.
All right, let's shift to the Braves, a team that has been very good for 5 or 6 or 7 years. This year without Freddie Freeman. They've won 14 in a row. They won the World Series last year. You could look at that team over the last, as I say, 5, 6, 7 years and say they could have won another World Series or two. I mean, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Astros, these are really good teams. They're at the top all the time. It's 14 in a row. Is that significant, or in the course of a 162-game season, is a good team going to get a couple of 10s, and the 14 doesn't really matter?
No, I think it does matter because I think there was a question about the Braves early without Freddie Freeman, even though I didn't think there should have been big questions because the guy they replaced him with, Matt Olson, is really good.
Yeah.
There were questions. Ronald Acuna, is he healthy? Well, now he is. What's happened now, Tony, is not only have they pitched really well, but they are on a pace to have the second most home runs in any calendar month of any team in history. So they are now following the formula. Let's catch it, let's throw strikes, and let's hit the ball out of the ballpark, and that's how you win. They hit 17 home runs in a 4-game span, Tony. No 4-game span in the history of the Braves have they ever hit 17 homers. Not with the Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews. None of those guys. So that's how offensive the Braves have become. And I think 14-0 not only makes them a surefire playoff team again, but it makes the Mets wonder, are we really going to win this division when I think 3 weeks ago there were people saying, oh, the Mets are definitely going to win this division.
We scrubbed a story on PTI yesterday about baseball in order to do a story on the U.S. Open. The story about baseball was this. I was going to ask Wilbon, which is more impressive to you? The Braves' 14-game winning streak, or the Yankees being 30 games over 500? Well, the story isn't good anymore because now they're 31 games over 500. Tim, the answer is the Yankees, is it not? That's the answer.
The answer is the Yankees. Tony, the Yankees have a 2.78 ERA this year. That is historically low for their team this time of the year. They've won 40 of the last 50 games. They played 800 baseball over the last 50 games. We all know they can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and now Aaron Judge is doing things that only Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle have done as far as home runs to start a season in X number of games. He's become the best player in the American League this year, but mostly their pitching is so good. Tony, this guy Nestor Cortez, who you've heard of, I'm sure. I was talking to Aaron Boone in spring training about him, and I went through their rotation in spring training. I got to 5th, and I say, and Nestor's your 5th starter, right? And he went, 5th? He goes, he's going to make the All-Star team. That was in spring training. Now he might even start the All-Star game. That's how good he's been. A short, kind of heavy-set guy with a strange mustache, but he can really pitch, even though he doesn't throw particularly hard. You put all of this together, and the Yankees are clearly the best team in the American League, and they're the best team in baseball with the way they've played.
I will just give people a statistic that's interesting. The Yankees are the 6th team all-time to go 46-16 in the first 62. They're now 47-16. The other 5 teams that have done this, 4 have won the World Series. So if you're handicapping this right now, Tim, you look at the Yankees. The Yankees leading baseball in home runs and ERA, which is unthinkable. And what else is there? There's home runs and ERA, and they're leading baseball in this. You have to think they're the best team in all of baseball by a substantial margin, I would think.
I think so, especially with the issues that the Dodgers have now with their pitching. Walker Buehler's going to be out for 2 months.
Right.
Tony, as of the other day, I haven't updated in 2 days, the Yankees had hit 98 homers and given up 48 homers. That's unheard of, to hit that many and give up so few. And that's a big difference. The other difference is, Tony, their infield defense is not good now. It's great. Last year was terrible. The catching situation, every time Gary Sanchez had a pass ball last year, people just threw up their arms. Well, their catching is really good. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, their shortstop, can really catch and throw, and I mean really. And Anthony Rizzo every day at first, Josh Donaldson at third. Look, when your pitchers know, if I put the ball in the grass here, if I put the ball in play here, not only are we going to get an out, we might get 2 outs. It changes everything for the pitching staff. And that's what also has happened to the Yankees. Great bullpen, great rotation, tremendous offensive team, and now a great defensive infield.
And to go from the sublime to the ridiculous Steven Strasburg. What are we talking about here? I mean, you reach a point where I think you have to look at Steven Strasburg and honestly say, I don't know if he'll ever pitch again. I don't know.
Tony, I refuse to go there this quickly.
Really?
He's only 33 years old. I understand what you're saying, and you're not the only one to say it. But, and it is confusing that now a rib injury is connected potentially to an arm injury. I'm confused about all of that. Given how much money he's being paid, given that I know he cares and he wants to pitch, I just refuse to believe he'll never pitch again. But he's pitched once, Tony, in the last, year and 3 weeks. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I feel so sorry for him and for the Nationals, but maybe there's just another reminder. This guy's had a history of injuries, and it's not going away.
He's been on the DL, or whatever they call it now, 15 times, Tim. For a pitcher.
Tony, I think Maddox and Glavine went on, as member of the Braves, went on the IL, DL one time in all their years through their time with the Cubs, with Maddox, and all the way through his Braves, one time. And I think the common denominator was those guys threw all the time. They threw in between starts. They never missed a bullpen session. And maybe it's also that they had a better delivery. Maybe they didn't have max effort on every pitch like Steven Strasburg. It still hurts my arm to watch that guy throw because it's so violent. Maybe it is just caught up to him as opposed to the way that Maddox and Glavine, for instance, would throw a baseball.
Not everybody's body is equipped to do what they want to do. It's just not. I watched him the other night. I was encouraged because he had 5 strikeouts and because I didn't think he was hurt, because we know what it looks like when he's hurt. He looks at his arm, he looks at the dugout, the trainer comes out, that's it. And that did not happen. But, and I'll ask you this because you will know, he was topping out at 90. I'm just assuming he did not throw as hard as he could, because I don't think you can be a major league starter, top of the rotation at 90.
Tony, he's the first guy that I remember, and I'm sure I missed somebody, who threw his changeup at 90. That's how good he was in his prime. He's throwing 98 with a changeup at 90. Now he threw his fastball at 90. And the really sad part, Tony, about all this is when he does pitch and he's not hurt, he's still really good. I mean, he's the MVP of the World Series. He led the league in innings pitched in 2019. His career numbers, 3.24 ERA. He's averaged 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's won almost 65% of his games. And it hurts so much for him and the team that somebody who's that good just can't go out there.
You see it in sports. I mean, there are injury-prone people. You see it. The kid on the Carolina Panthers gets hurt all the time. He led the league in total yards from scrimmage one year. He can't get on the field. Christian McCaffrey can't get on the field.
Right. And Tony, look, we get killed all the time as writers, including you, for saying, oh, he's a compiler. He just because he showed up every day and played. Well, I'm giving guys extra credit points for being good enough to play every day and play every day for 20 years. Don Sutton, everyone said he's not a Hall of Famer. Well, he made 25 starts or more for 20 seasons. That's hard to do. That you deserve some credit for doing that. And I'm always amazed that we just say, well, it's okay, he got hurt. Well, that's part of the business, is trying to stay healthy. Some guys can and some guys can't.
That's right. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Talk soon.
Okay, Tony. Talk to you soon.
Tim Kirkchin, boys and girls. We'll take a break. We will come back. Barry Svrluga will join us from Brookline, Massachusetts. Unless he just left. Unless he just said, I'm done with this. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
The Tony Kornheiser Show is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yeah, while you're listening to me talk, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, or maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you can be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy and you can save money by doing it right from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save over $700 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts, like having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 27 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2020 and May 2021. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show. The Tony Kornheiser Show.
Once again, this is Ricky Rochelle. He fronts a band called the Young Rochelles, but he's got a solo album out, which is called So Far So Good. This is not the kind of music I like, but if you give it to me for 20 seconds, I begin to think it's really good.
Yeah.
Punk rock.
Punk
really,
pop.
yeah. Punk, it's really sort of good. It's because it's so catchy.
It's movie ready.
Yeah, it's
100% soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. This is called Exceptionally Loved. This plays in Barry's Verluga, who was in Brookline, Massachusetts, near his boyhood home, covering the U.S. Open. The easy question is, what's it like up there? But I took some notes this morning. And we're all part of this drama. I know Michael doesn't want to be part of this drama, and because it's really one-sided. If you watch television coverage of golf, you get tremendous anti-Saudi tour stuff. I mean, it's really tremendous. And you have to step back for a second and ask the television networks to say the following sentence. We are full partners with the PGA Tour. That's what we are. That's why we take this position. Writers don't have to have that position. But of the people who were on the Saudi tour, Patrick Reed shot even, Bryson DeChambeau shot +1, Sergio Garcia +4, Taylor Gooch +4, Kevin Na, who was leading at one point, +5, Louis Oosthuizen +7, and the great Phil Mickelson +8. Does that suggest a morality play yet, or do we wait it out, or do we try, Barry, to try to get away from it because it has been all over us? And I'm part of this too, all over us for a week or so.
Well, I mean, I think yesterday it was irresponsible to get away from it, and I do think, Tony, I completely agree with you. In watching the coverage of the Canadian Open and Rory McIlroy's win, and Jim Nantz and Nick Faldo basically just spewing the PGA Tour company line. Yeah. I mean, I am absolutely against the idea of live golf. But not because it presents a threat to the PGA Tour. I mean, that's just competition. I'm against it because I think these guys are taking blood money. I'm not going to sit here and say yesterday's results, have some sort of karmic play in all of this. But I would say this, that right now, other than Reed, other than DeChambeau, other than maybe Dustin Johnson, who shot 68 yesterday.
I forgot about him. I apologize for that. Yeah.
Yeah, the collective of some of the stars that Liv is hanging its brand on at the moment, Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, Graham McDowell, are not good enough to be here. This is collectively a group of either guys who've kind of kicked around a little bit, like Kevin Na and Taylor Gooch, but mostly aging to actually age its stars. I mean, yesterday was Phil's 52nd birthday. He hasn't played any competitive golf other than that one live event since February. He couldn't possibly have any form. It didn't look yesterday like he had much interest either. So I think, I know everybody kind of wants the story to go away. The problem is that over the course of the summer, it's going to grow because they're not going to get fewer players, and they're going to get some players who make you say, oh goodness, the balance is tipping. I'm not saying it's tipping to live, but it's every person that goes makes that side of the scale a little bit heavier. And if they start to get some young guys in their prime, more guys in their prime, they're not going to get Justin Thomas. They're not going to get Jordan Spieth. They're not going to get John Rahm. They're not going to get those kind of anchors of the PGA Tour. Rory is not going there, and he's speaking very eloquently about why he's not. But they're going to get some people, and that means there's going to have to be some sort of come to Jesus meeting with all the powers that be to sort this out, because nobody wants a product that is not thinned out on a week-to-week level, but thinned out through the sport. You don't want the majors thinned out. You don't want the Ryder Cup thinned out. You want people tune in. Whoever sponsors it, people are going to tune in for the biggest stars, the best fields, the best courses, the best competition. And anything that threatens all of that is a story. And I'm sorry that kind of overtakes the U.S. Open at the first round, but that overtakes the U.S. Open in the first round.
It does, certainly does. It's why I emailed you or texted you about Koepka. I mean, shut up, Koepka. I mean, honest to God. I mean, really. Of course, that's the story right now. I don't suspect that Phil would get heckled, though he was certainly castigated in the Boston Herald the other day. But I don't suspect he'll get heckled because people like Phil. Were any of the Saudi guys heckled on any level?
So, it's hard to say because you can't be an 18 holes with, all these guys. I did go to the first tee for DJ and Phil. They were in the afternoon. And you know how this works, Tony. It's like you're looking at, it's 2 o'clock when they tee off, or close to 2, and you got it right. So I was there for the first tee, and the best thing anybody said, I mean, Phil was warmly received. I was there when he was on 18 finishing up as well, and I mean, one woman in particular, we love you, Phil. The PGA Tour can't tell you what to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, it's his birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Lefty, on the first tee, and one guy says, hey, Phil, Celtics are giving 3.5 this afternoon. Tonight. Who you got? Robert's the lead official. So that was kind of the best zinger. But it didn't have anything to do with the Saudi money, right? Like that's right. Like Phil's kind of come clean about his gambling. It got out of control. He came cleaner than I thought he was going to come about it, and so that was he took it in stride. He shot 78. I saw him, sporadically throughout the day, and he was just, he 4-putted the 6th green. He was not good. He will not be here for the weekend, but he was thumbs up and smiling for the crowd. And the thing that people have said for so many years about that is, is that disingenuous? Is that real? Is he kind of a fraud, a phony, blah, 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 blah. Tell the kid that he gives a ball to, as he walks off the 8th green to the 9th tee, that's fraudulent. Tell the kid that he signs an autograph for it. He signed more autographs than anybody out here ever. Tell the kid who receives that's fake. At some level, it doesn't really matter. So from what I saw, he was absolutely mostly warmly received. I did hear a few people mutter like, oh, you broke my heart, Phil. But it wasn't in a jeering kind of way.
He's been killed on television, on the Golf Channel, on CBS, on NBC. He's been killed. People ought to remember that over the last 25 years, he's second to Tiger Woods in popularity. Second. He's the most important golfer, second to Tiger Woods in the last 25 years. And I find it distasteful the way that they are piling on him now. I'm with you. I wish he hadn't taken the money. I think it's bad. But to react to him that way, because you have this opportunity, and you're a full partner with the PGA Tour, at least, disclose this at some point, right, Barry? Disclose it.
Absolutely. And also, distinguish why you're railing against him. Is it because it seems to me that the PGA Tour is certainly trying to set this up as, we're righteous and he's the renegade, right?
Yes.
But what's righteous about the PGA Tour, and what is there's a dynamic here, Tony, where the people in golf kind of want to say, oh, we want to grow the game and we want to make sure it has immense popularity and it's a global sport. Where, meanwhile, all the entities are infighting against each other. The PGA Tour wants to be more prominent than the RNA, which runs the Open Championship, right? So they don't want to necessarily promote the British Open if it's at the expense of the events that it stages. And that's what's got to get cleared up here. If Greg Norman saw an opening and was provided an endless pit of money by and when I say endless pit of money, it's because it is an endless pit of money.
Yes.
One reason why this is a threat, a real threat to the golf establishment, is it does not matter whether Live Golf is a viable financial entity. They will just stick another drill in the desert and spout more oil and provide more money. So that's a problem. I think when people get sanctimonious about, these guys went and grabbed the cash, it shouldn't be because that's an affront or a threat to the PGA Tour. I mean, who cares? Like, they're at some level, like, survival of the fittest should prevail here. Again, I'll just go back to, I have trouble with the source of the money, the direct source of the money, and the fact that regime that is directly providing the funds has just a horrific record on human rights and is waging a war in Yemen and all the stuff that we probably don't want to talk about here. But it has to come back to that, because that has to be the problem. And you're right, Tony, anybody who is commentating on this on TV, please, viewer, look at that person and consider where their checks are coming from and what their relationship is with the PGA Tour. Yeah, absolutely.
Full partner. A PGA rooting hard for Rory. I like Rory. I've always liked Rory. I loved Rory's temper yesterday. He got in the sand. He 2 shots in the sand with a club, just breaking up the sand. He threw his club on his last hole. He hit one on the right into the spinach, and he threw his club, which made me so happy because I've not seen that from Rory. Did you by any chance see Rory out there do those things?
Yeah, so that's he's the easy follow in the morning, right? So,
yeah.
And he's coming off a win, and he's been so vocal, and he's playing so well. So yeah, that's absolutely where I was. And so on the drivable par 4 fifth, he hits it in a bunker with 3-wood on the right, and he's got that awkward stance. And you're right, Tony. He said afterward, the reason he was frustrated is that the longest grass on this course is the grass around the bunkers. And so instead of the ball rolling down into the bunker where it would settle at the bottom, and these bunkers are deep and tough, but these guys are the best in the world. If they've got a clean lie in a bunker, they got a good chance of advancing it. He just had it was kind of this is going to happen in the U.S. Open. I need to take my medicine. It doesn't mean I can't be really ticked off about taking my medicine, so I'm going to whack at the sand here, because he said I was already standing and messed it up. I couldn't mess it up anymore for my caddy, so I took out my frustrations. But his ninth hole, the ninth hole, which
the
was
last
his
hole.
18th,
yes,
where he threw his club.
Yeah.
Once he made the turn in 2 under, his mindset was, okay, let's get through this day without a bogey, because if I get through this day without a bogey, it's impossible for it to be bad. And that led to his only bogey of the day, that one shot from the fairway on 9. So
that's right.
I like the emotion. I like the form. He putted great yesterday. On that 5th hole, he made just a clutch 15-footer for par. That's the kind of stuff that sometimes gets away from him, that if he does this week in a leaderboard that right now is a bunch of nobodies in him, he's got a very good chance to be there in the afternoon on Sunday.
But I will say this to you. If that was Sergio Garcia or Patrick Reed doing that in the bunker or throwing a club on his last hole, that'd be a headline. People would say, what the hell is this? Look at this guy. If it was John Rahm 3 years ago, you go, whoa, he can't control his temper. I'm just saying that, and I love Rory, and that's also true. And I would think that I'm not saying this for the Saudi Tour or the PGA Tour. I'm saying this for golf fans. If the final twosome is Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy, you got yourself a morality play, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. I mean, and yeah, DJ, with the 68 yesterday, he hasn't played a ton of golf. You wonder about and he hasn't actually, frankly, been good for about, 12 months or so.
That's right.
And he's 37. He's not, not that he can't win, but he's not, he's not 28 anymore. So yes, that's absolutely right, and I do think this thing sets up as a potential us versus them or them versus us kind of scenario when any one of those, if people were intrigued, how are they going to do the pairings? Are they going to pair 3 live guys together so they all get along, or are they going to mix and match? Are they really going to do the, kind of Batman versus the Joker kind of situation? All of that stuff comes into play. It'll come into play in the majors going forward, because that's right now the only crossover opportunities that these guys have. There's so much to be settled here, and it feels like it's going to get more unsettled before we find out what the new reality is on the other side.
I agree. Thank you so much. Enjoy it up there, because, that's a cool event. U.S. Open's a cool event. Thank you, Barry.
Appreciate it, Tony. Thanks.
Barry's for Luger. You can read him in the Washington Post. We'll take a break. Email and jingle. When we return, I'm Tony Kornheiser.
This is the Tony Kornheiser Show.
Are people still trying to make plans with you this summer? As if you aren't booked and busy already? I'm just going to say this. For the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're booked. You're just going to have to tell them to try again in the fall. You've got pool days, pride parades, bachelor parties, and beach vacations waiting for you. Seriously, we're not leaving the greater DMV area for a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks. It's a lot. But thankfully, MeUndies wants to help make this summer the most comfortable one you'll never forget, because when you're living your best life, the last thing you want to worry about is bum sweat. It's in the copy. It's in the copy, and it's have been paid. When you're comfy and feeling good, you're more present to enjoy all your summer plans. It's like science or something. MeUndies has the lightest and most breathable fabrics to keep you cool and comfortable wherever you go, from undies, socks, to loungewear and swimwear. You can find something for all your plans. MeUndies also releases new prints all the time, like their limited edition Pride collection. You can match with your partner, friends, or even your dog. When I was doing the first diaper change for little Reed, I was wondering, what if he had the Jurassic Park limited edition MeUndies diaper?
Oh, they should send it to you. They should send that to you.
Yeah. Now that's a dinosaur egg. Find your ultimate summer comfort in sizes extra small to 4XL. MeUndies has a great offer for Tony's listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off for a limited time. If you sign up for free to join MeUndies membership, you get 25% off your first membership item. To get 15% off your first order, 25% off your first membership item, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/TonyK. That's MeUndies.com/TonyK.
Good job, Michael.
You're listening to the Tony Kornheiser Show.
This past fall, I got an Apple phone to call Matt and Julia before each show. And then slowly but surely the signal died. Now the landline's what I'm on. Oh, Tracy, do you know what's wrong with my device? Does my child across the table have advice? Can I click on the settings to get 5G? Can I get any help from Comcast or AT&T? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
That's Jerry Negrelli, accompanied by Chessie the dog, barking in the background. That's great.
Chessie
He's
taking the
such
bass
a
line.
good singer.
He really is.
He's so good. That's Landslide, by the way, by Fleetwood. That's lovely.
Yeah,
It's
Steve
just
Nick's
lovely.
so good.
Just lovely. When is that? Is the Jingles this week? The Jingle Fest?
25th,
Announced it.
next Saturday.
Yeah, 25th. That's
Okay,
right.
next Saturday.
Yes.
Okay. You want to do the Bethesda Bagel Day?
Yes, Bethesda Bagels. We love them. You will as well. Chessie's very excited about the bagels. All you need to do is go to BethesdaBagels.com for the location in the DC area nearest you. Then pop on in, and you'll be thrilled.
In dog speak, that means I would like a bagel sandwich.
In dog speak, that means turn the dial.
That'll just about do it for us today. Before we get to the mailbag, let me just say the summer wind came blowing in from across the sea. It lingered there, so warm and fair to walk with me. All summer long, we sang a song, and then we strolled on golden sand. Two amigos, Jack and the summer wind. And Frank Sinatra, when he does this, when he says, you stick around, Jack, you might know, he just butchers the lyrics. It's so wonderful. Thanks to our guests today, Barry's Verluga, Tim Kirkchin. Thanks to today's sponsors, Progressive, Shopify, MeUndies. Great read by Michael. Remember, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Odyssey. If you get the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. So I've got some emails here. This one says, Mr. Tony, I'm a contemporary Long Islander, Plain Edge High School class of 67. The great softball team to which you referred was County Sports, 100% right, based in Levittown. Their very big home run hitter who led the team was Jim Galloway. Other stars on that team were former St. John's basketball players Hank Cluse and Bobby Doerr. Thanks for reminding me of some great nights at the beach. It was a great venue. On a separate note, did you ever play in the Open Hoops division at Hickey Field in Rockville Center? Another great late 60s, early 70s venue on Long Island, like Bob Hope said. Thanks for the memory. Steve from Bonita Springs, Florida. Jim Galloway, I remember County Sports. They killed it. They hit a ton, 350 in the air. And it's softball. They just killed it. And Hickey Field was where all the great basketball players played. If you thought you were a good high school basketball player on the South Shore of Long Island in Nassau County, you went to Hickey Field at night and you played. And that's where, and Michael will remember this name, Frankie Alasia became a very great player. Beaver Smith, you played at Hickey Field. Peter Crotty.
Yeah, you didn't have the ankles for that.
You know, no, not at all. From David Sampson in Westport, Connecticut. Big Love and Spoonful fan. Have all the original LPs in my collection. The late Sal Yanofsky. I didn't know he was the late Sal Yanofsky. The late Sal Yanofsky was the cousin of Lucy Kaplansky, whose music you featured recently at our concerts, of which my wife and I have attended many. She has spoken of the family connection and her relatives in Toronto and has written songs about them and the family bakery there. And that's why it was said that Sal Yanofsky could have made bagels.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Quite the musical family. Thought you should know. You're never too old to learn. Mazel tov. Grandchildren are one of the few things in life that are not overrated. I have 4. Shabbat shalom, DJ. Nice to have.
Yeah, thanks for that.
We got this beautiful drawing. And then pass this along to Michael. From Eric Lonergan, who is a wonderful cartoonist. It's got the hammer and Bootsy and says, who's the new guy? And it's got the thin man, but we may be going to the captain. So, I mean, you're going to have to probably get Reed jerseys with 19 on them. Because that was Willis's number.
You have to do it.
Stu sends a thing about the moon.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a fabulous picture of somebody shoveling, in effect, the moon, a big, bright, full moon. I can't
So we
explain
thought the supermoon was going to make the baby arrive a little earlier.
And you think that's what happened because of the
Apparently
tidal
that drives
patterns?
everyone to the labor delivery ward.
Okay. Wow. From Scott McClellan in Bethesda, sorry, old man, but Up on the Roof is a top 2 summer song. I'm thinking you've become directionally challenged. Who wants to be up on the roof in the summer? You want to be under the boardwalk having some fun. Same group, Drifters.
Yeah. Also a great summer song.
Yeah. That's so maybe, he's probably right. From Bill in Ocala, I'm asking for nothing, to which is to say, I'm not asking for anything, unless you have some extra boxes of that lying around, in which case I'll take one. From Robert in Kissimmee, Florida, intrigued by your discussion of sand, I visited the Toy Hall of Fame online to see a complete list and was gladdened to find the stick and cardboard box included. Notably missing was the rubber band, so I nominated it for inclusion with a lengthy list of requisite reasons, which I find myself adding to throughout the day. If you're in agreement, I'd appreciate the support of the Tony Kornheiser Show, as this will add some gravitas to my submission. If successful, I plan to go for the abandoned refrigerator. I think the rubber band is legit.
Sure.
No?
Definitely.
I think the rubber
More so than sand.
Yeah. Much
Sand
more
is
deserving.
And not
than
even
sand.
just a utilitarian tool.
This is another DG. This is Drew Gardner in Iowa City.
Slingshot.
Sans tots sound to me like to be a first T division that specializes in teaching 3 to 6-year-olds how to get out of bunkers. Please make this happen. From Mo C in Las Vegas.
Life
This
lessons at
past
the
Sunday,
starboard.
12th of June, I was on a Dallas to Vegas flight. After listening to your Friday podcast, I decided to see if any littles were on the flight. I asked the head flight attendant when we land, and you give the welcome to Las Vegas announcement, can you please add a cheeserie at the end to see if any littles are on the flight with me? Sadly, no shout-outs, but I'm hopeful this will lead to a new game with the littles. Maybe they will have better luck than me.
This needs to happen.
From
Yes.
Tim Ziegler in Martinsburg, West Virginia, home of great outlets. As a 32-year-old little, I'm not sure if I meet the demographic age bracket. I want to thank this high-quality program for all the years of content. I started out watching PTI in high school, and as I've researched, I found the radio show to listen to through college, and I've been little ever since. Along with sports, occasional politics, and weather reports, the best part of the show is how it brings people together. My excitement and joy went through the roof when I heard the email of Alex Tano. I hope I'm spelling that correctly. It's Tineo, I think.
Or Teneo, something like
Teneo,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Of Martinsburg, West Virginia, Red. I don't know Alex, but knowing there's a little in my same town is spectacular.
Not great.
And one more from Adam Leahy in Brownsburg, Indiana. Since you're using the start of the show to pass along a few personal messages to people in your life, like you did on Wednesday's show, I was curious if you could help me out. My brother and I, a fellow Little, share wedding anniversaries this weekend. Could you let them know our dinner reservations are at 7:45 tonight at Convivio in Zionsville? We'll meet them there after they drop off their boys at Grandma and Grandpa's. Thanks for the help. If you're out on your bike tonight, as always, everyone, do wear white.
Hola, nosotros somos Pineapple Landscaping y escuchamos el show de Tony Kornheiser, pero este show apesta.
Alright, we are almost out of gas. We're going to land it soon. I think we're going to try to get to this easternmost point up ahead. We'll just find another podcast to play for the next 10-15 minutes or so, however long it takes to get there. Let's go with a random one. We're going to go with a wrestling podcast. This is the Masked Man Show, talking about Vince McMahon temporarily stepping down as WWE CEO after it was revealed that he had paid off a former employee who he had an affair with. So, for all my wrestling fans still watching after 3 hours here, almost 3 hours, here's a little bit of a podcast while we end the episode.
There are certain...
This episode is brought to you. Today it's dinner with parents.
No, not today. We're not doing this today. No cold open question. Let's just go. Let's just go. We're already late. I feel like if we
the show.
If we wait any longer to drop this podcast, more news is gonna come out that will make this podcast not timely. So let's just go. Let's just roll.
Okay.
What's going on, jabronis? It's Pitch Mr. Perfect, Skylar Aston.
Hey, this is Bruce Pritchard.
This is Roast Battle Season 1 champion Mike Lawrence.
Steve Kazee.
This is Trey Kirby.
This is your girl, WWE superstar, the legit boss, Sasha Banks. Hi, this is Lillian Garcia.
My name's Kevin Owens.
I'm Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, if you will, and you're listening to.
You are listening to the Masked Man Show.
The Masked Man Show.
The Masked Man Show. Masked Man Show. Welcome to the Masked Man Show with Kaz. We got a lot to talk about today, but
Yeah, we got a lot of things to talk about. We got a lot to talk about. Holy hell, where do we start? Incredible news.
So there's a lot of stuff come out. Maybe the biggest news in wrestling history happened. I think it was yesterday. Aces and Eights returned to Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
No, that's really not what we're going to talk about. It's
did
crazy.
They really come back?
Well, yeah.
Just kidding.
Right. Bischoff and Wes Briscoe came back as a tag team with D'Lo Brown as their manager, I guess. So, yeah, but I don't know why we're talking about this. There's Vince McMahon WWE news is absolutely popping off right now, as I'm sure everybody listening to this knows. Wall Street Journal put out a story. Was it just yesterday as we're recording this? Thursday morning?
Yeah.
That the WWE's board was investigating or was looking into a sort of whistleblower email type thing that they got about Vince McMahon potentially paying somebody off to the tune of $3 million that he'd had, a former employee that he had an affair with. It was a $3 million payment when she left, I guess. The rest, I guess business-wise, it seems like the more problematic part of the story is that he was having an affair with a coworker, gave her a raise, doubled her salary, and then at some point shifted her from her position as a paralegal to Johnny Ace's assistant. Maybe more stuff going. It's all. There's a lot going on.
Right.
The news, right from the beginning, it was a little bit perplexing because in any other sort of situation, you would say, well, the board is investigating is a huge deal, right? It is a huge deal. This is a publicly traded company. Their stock price is super significant. When we talk about Vince being a billionaire, a lot of that is tied up in the value of his stock. So it's not like he could just be like, I don't care, but like that would be a significant, that could significantly harm himself. And I think that's sort of where my confusion was yesterday. I couldn't find anybody that would actually could actually directly say is it possible that Vince just shrugs his shoulders and moves forward? I mean,
Right.
and if that, I mean, honestly, if they just said that, there was, I mean, that might really hurt the stock, temporarily. But I think that would quiet down the PR. I mean, quiet down like the amount of attention that it was getting pretty quickly, because if nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
As difficult as the story is, but anyway, all that is to say, today it was announced that Vince is stepping down from his role as chairman and CEO, and being replaced on a temporary basis by Stephanie McMahon, who recently took leave from the company. And to make matters more interesting, as it was told to me, late at night, all the bigwigs are in the boardroom writing up drawing up the press release about Stephanie taking over.
Yeah.
And then Vince turned as soon as they were done. As soon as they dotted the last T or whatever, crossed the last T, dotted the last I, Vince turns to Bruce and he says, "And after that goes out, I want you to send out another press release. McMahon on SmackDown." And so Vince will be on SmackDown at 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways you could. There's a lot of palace intrigue here. A lot of ways you can read this. That was a long way of telling an even longer story. But where are you right now, Kaz?
I'm at a lot of places. I mean, there's definitely a lot of scandalous and salacious sort of information that's probably a lot more juicier to talk about when I guess those details come up. But
wait, I'm sorry. This is the appropriate time to say, just as a formal disclaimer.
Yes.
Everybody knows that we have a business relationship with WWE.
This is true.
We have editorial independence on this show, and yet it's important to say that.
This is a wrestling show, and I think the biggest sort of story that comes out of this is what this kind of means for the McMahon sort of power structure in WWE, and like something that
for sure
many fans, and I want to say just many followers and wrestling insiders have kind of speculated, not just in the past several days, but I mean for years, is what happens when Vince is no longer in charge. If Vince is no longer in charge, what would it take for this sort of happen? Is he's gonna, like there's many things we've sort of talked about when it comes to just how tied into the company he is, more than just being the boss. Like I think you mentioned that he did announce that he was, a press release went out this morning that he would be stepping down as CEO of the company rather, but he'll still be in his creative position.
He's still maintaining his job as lead creative and everything else. So I mean that's important to point out.
Right.
He's stepping down from a title.
Right. And I'm guessing that is like what you referred to as I guess temping down the PR. You mentioned the stockholders. The stockholders are so important in this situation because in most situations like this that we've seen in the past with other people of power and people in certain positions, these things sort of happen, and then as there's internal investigation goes on, like usually they either let go or they step down or they're voted out. And I think what makes this situation interesting is McMahon still, from what I read, I think he still has controlling shares of the company, right? So even if there was a vote, it wouldn't be as simple as a bunch of and what I'm assuming, a bunch of the board of directors getting together and being like, okay, let's vote this man out. Let's have a new CEO. It's a story that has so much legs.
So
because of the Nick Khan of it all, because of
the Nick Khan of it all. Can we do the Nick Khan of it all T-shirts?
The Nick Khan of it all. No, it's if you look at just the sort of power structure of WWE and how much it's really evolved and changed in the past year or two. You see the memes going along, right? Like the Mortal Kombat memes with like Nick Khan just kind of going past like Triple H and Stephanie and now Vince and all this type of stuff. It's a very delicate situation, especially on our end, because we want to just kind of say, you don't want to recklessly speculate what could happen. But on the legal sense, and definitely the way that place is structured, it's way more complicated and convoluted than I guess wrestling Twitter is making it out to be. And like as far as oh yeah, let's just now Triple H will come back and Heyman will be running creative and all this other stuff. And I'm like, brother, there's a lot of people on that pecking order that kind of have a say in that first, and it's just one of those things that it's not understating that this is definitely one of the biggest stories in wrestling history.
Yeah.
And it could really absolutely change the shape
Sure.
of what WWE is going forward for the decades to come. I mean, the company has gone through many changes, whether it's from NXT, from the way the product is presented. I mean, it's no small. This is not small potatoes, and
No.
I definitely don't want to be the person who is kind of like recklessly just talking about what could happen or what might happen. Because the truth be told, we're finding out just as much as you are, man.
That's true. That's true. We both got different types of connections into Stanford, but
Exactly.
it's at this point in time, we're finding stuff out about at the same time as everybody else. Because you know what, people at Stanford are finding out at the same time as everybody else. You probably saw that Stephanie McMahon sent out a text memo or whatever to all of the employees of WWE at the same time that the press release went out. I mean, that's how people are finding out about this stuff. And just to go to what you said, this could be an incredibly significant thing for the future of WWE. Worth saying, though, this could also be absolutely meaningless to the future of WWE.
Could be.
There's a version of events where, and this is all speculation, I'm going to go in every direction here. There's a version of events where, this is all sort of part of going according to plan, and that Vince is not actually changing his job at all, and Stephanie's coming back on in the figurehead capacity, and as soon as this investigation runs its course, then she'll relinquish control back to Vince, and we were exactly where we were 2 days ago. I mean,
Right.
that's it's feasible, right? I mean,
Right.
and if that's the case, then maybe there was not a lot of lasting ramifications of this. I
But
do think that
there's also the world where this is such a, I mean, and this is kind of the way I've seen it. Like, it's such a public relations sort of mess that maybe Vince is pressured to truly step down and step back. Which again, I think I forgot which pie chart I saw, and I don't want to misquote it because math never's been my strong suit. But what it looked like is he still has controlling shares.
basically, I'm not a stock expert either, but it's structured like this. There's Class A shares and there's Class B shares, right? Two different kinds of stock in WWE. If you would go out and buy some WWE stock, which, this might be a good time to do it. It's trading pretty low right now.
Right.
You get Class A shares, right? I mean, just regular stock. The McMahon family has a different kind of stock called Class B shares, which have I think double voting power, whatever, a disproportionate amount of power. And Vince himself has just an incredible number of those shares,
Right.
so that no one can ever tell him what to do. He's got Class B stock out the wazoo. He's always going to be in charge. The only thing that could affect his role would be if, like I said at the top, if the PR is bad enough, if the stock price goes down enough that it is going to affect him and all the shareholders in such a way that there's no other way out. You could understand that happening. But to this point, there's certainly a reading of it where it's just like, we're doing this to save face. We're going to the Stations of the Cross. We got to show penance. We got to do everything else. And then, but Vince isn't losing any significant power.
All right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's
told, he's gonna be in Gorilla tonight.
the first
running the
thing.
show.
Yeah, that was like the first thing anybody heard.
Yeah.
I mean, from the inside, it was like, "Oh, Vince will be there on Friday. Don't you worry."
Right. And then the press release saying he's actually gonna be on the show, and a live promo from what I'm told. It's not pre-taped. Apparently, he's going live with a hot mic. So. Strap in for that one because that's going to be must-see TV tonight when it comes to everything that comes out. But I mean, you mentioned how seismic of a story this can be because now there's,
All right, so we've landed. We're going to camp on the ice once more here at the very northeastern part of Nunavut. We're going to head across to Greenland next time. we'll be next time on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 World Tour.